And it seems like every time he approaches a song, he has a new flow. He has new melodies that are sinking in with this music so well.
Yeah. If I could have someone like narrate my life, it'd be J. Cole. Because he makes everything
because of the sound
cool.
of his voice.
He just makes everything sound so cool. We're in. We are in. We are ready. Strap in. There's a lot to talk. We have a lot to talk about.
I'm trying to pump myself up, dog.
This is the Chris and Kyle show. Yeah. He's Chris. Yeah. I'm Kyle. He's James. Yeah. She's Audrey. We're in. We're excited. Tons to talk about today. How you feeling? You good?
I'm great. I'm great.
You're great.
I'm trying to pump myself up. I'm trying to get hype. Heart's pumping. I'm nervous. Not really though.
Yeah. So
what are we going to talk about today, dude?
A lot. Let's do some movie stuff first.
All right, let's do it.
Let's start with, I'll kick this off with the most recent big news as of recording here. James Gunn.
Oh, yeah.
James Gunn is now writing and maybe directing Suicide Squad 2.
Okay. Do you want to include the people that may not know about James Gunn's situation?
Yeah, we definitely need to talk about that.
Okay.
Definitely need to talk about that. So, James Gunn, for those of you who do not know, wrote and directed the Guardians of the Galaxy movies for Marvel, 1 and 2. He was recently fired from directing Guardians 3, and they may or may not be using his script that he finished, which is weird. Yeah. Because of old tweets that came out of him making jokes that are in very poor taste, but they were made like 15 years ago, 10 to 15 years ago. And the thing that's the most crazy about it is that Disney already knew about them when they hired him.
Right.
They only fired him after it became like public knowledge. And they're deleted tweets. He apologized for them before he ever got the Guardians of the Galaxy job. It was this very strange hiring. There's a big movement online to bring him back to the Guardians movies. Dave Bautista has been really outspoken, who plays Drax in those movies, about bringing James Gunn back and about how he doesn't even want to be in the third movie without him. All this stuff.
It's especially, I feel like it's especially weird because of the environment that James Gunn came out of. Like he basically he sprouted up from Trauma Entertainment. Do you know anything about Trauma?
Yes.
So Trauma is like the longest running independent production company in the United States. And they're responsible for a lot of like really schlocky B movies like Toxic Avenger and stuff like that. But he did a lot of work within Trauma. And they're known for having sort of edgy content.
He made Super.
Yeah.
Super's hard, like, if you're comfortable with the dude who made Super making your superhero movie, you've accepted it. Like,
and I don't know if you look back at some of the tweets.
Yeah, I saw them.
Yeah,
they're in very poor taste. He's also clearly joking.
He's clearly joking, and he's trying to be edgy.
Yeah, it's like kind of what you would expect like a high school kid to tweet.
Yeah,
but they were so long ago. And he's come out and talked about how much his sense of humor has changed and grown, and the amount of growth he's done as a person. It's this weird thing where like in modern society, we can't just keep crucifying everyone for mistakes they've made in the past. Especially if they've shown the ability to grow as a person.
True.
And he didn't hurt anybody.
The length of time isn't what gets me. Like if it came out that, like he did something that was awful 30 years ago, I don't care. He did something that was awful.
Yeah.
I don't think that there's like a statute of limitations here that like
the level's different though.
But exactly. Like I just don't think that if he did it today, I don't think that it would be like he would get fired.
He made bad jokes.
But to me, if the South Park guys did an episode about what he was joking about, like
people would love it.
And like they would still have their show,
yeah. It's satire.
I do we also do have to be careful being white dudes.
That's true.
Like straight white dudes.
Yeah, we are like raised middle classes, white males.
Yeah, we have to be careful about like not about our perspectives and like including
absolutely
other people's perspectives, because we don't know what everybody's
that's
going
for
through.
sure true.
But I also think that there is a problem with. I agree with a lot of the movements that are going on with Hollywood right now, and I think it's overall for the better.
Yeah,
you know,
and they're also big in Hollywood too. Like, you know, people will argue with you about equal pay for women, and they'll throw all these statistics at you. But specifically in Hollywood, there's a huge discrepancy in what males and females get paid for leading roles and stuff. That's why I think a lot of these issues, including things like sexual harassment and sexual assault, are taken so seriously and publicly by actors, is because they're so prominent in their industry.
Yeah,
which is, I mean, horrible.
And there's a lot of scum in Hollywood.
Yeah.
But I also don't. A lot of people are quick to say that, you know, they are without flaws, which is just a fucked up thing to do as an individual. Like, you should, if we are all about inclusion, we should be including what is wrong with us as well, because no one is perfect.
No one's perfect. Yeah.
And I don't think that there was anything. Like, it was questionable, and I understand what James Gunn's tweets were questionable, and I think that they are subject for controversy. I understand that they are, but I don't think that there was anything morally wrong with it. I don't.
I think it's insane that he got fired.
Yeah,
I think it's especially insane, like I said earlier, because Disney already knew, and it had already been something that he addressed publicly and apologized. Like, it was all in the past. And because it came back up, Disney panicked.
Yeah.
And they fired him, and that created a huge backlash.
Yeah.
It's all weird, but we want to talk about the movie specifically too. Suicide Squad 2, a movie that if you had asked me a week ago, I would say don't even make it.
Right. If James Gunn wasn't
Before
involved.
James Gunn was attached, I would say don't even make that movie. Suicide Squad is blech. What are we? Some kind of Suicide Squad?
It's not a good movie.
No. There's things in it that I like. I don't want to act like everything about it is negative. And it's also very obvious that I don't think David Ayer had as much control over it as he would have liked. It seems like, you know what I mean? It seems like DC is having a super hard time getting their ducks in a row, to the point where they've given up on Rose, and they're just saying, make whatever you want. Nothing has to connect. You know, they're making a Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie directed by Todd Phillips, and they're going to make a Jared Leto Joker movie, because screw it. Let's just make everything. Nothing has to be. They've given up on trying to emulate what Marvel has created with a connected universe, and they're just like, let's just make stuff.
Because they were incapable of sort of mimicking that singular vision that Marvel has.
They didn't have a Feige that was good at it. Zack Snyder wasn't the right person for the job.
Continue.
Oh,
sorry.
But, I mean, but attaching James Gunn to Suicide Squad 2 instantly makes me really interested in it. Because what is the one thing he's done in the superhero realm? He has taken a group of not super well-known characters that are tertiary to their universe and made 2 good movies about them. And made them beloved.
Right.
No one knew who the Guardians of the Galaxy were 5 years ago.
And he's also very punkish. Yeah. Which I think is something that like Suicide Squad is trying to achieve. Yeah. And like a lot of people that I've talked to about Suicide Squad, and I've heard talk about Suicide Squad, is that like it seems like a movie that's trying to be punk, but it's like the man trying to like putting on the punk's clothing, you know, and being like isn't this cool?
It's like the high school kid who's experimenting with different looks, but isn't that person.
If James Gunn is anything, he's a fucking weirdo.
Oh, he's super weird.
Yeah. And I feel like that is a tone that he could nail.
Oh yeah. Know, like a big thing though is like Suicide Squad 2 shouldn't be Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy at its core is a movie about family and finding your family.
Right.
And the people you care about. I don't think Suicide Squad should be that. which is the first one kind of was, and it felt very forced.
How much knowledge do you have like of Suicide Squad outside of the actual movie?
A solid knowledge.
Oh, I mean, I don't know jack.
It's a rotating roster. It's kind of like, what's a good example to compare? It's, you know how I mean, it's like any team up in comics. It's consistently changing who's on it. There's basically iconic runs of when it was, you know, at its best. It's being pushed super hard now by DC in comics, along with Harley Quinn is being pushed super hard,
right?
Which I'm not a huge fan of, but that's a subject for a different day. But like one of the things I love in Suicide Squad, the first one, I think Margot Robbie is awesome in that movie. Mm-hmm. She's a very good Harley Quinn.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
As cheesy as the movie is and kind of lame, I liked Will Smith as Deadshot. I think he's fine. Mm-hmm. But I also just love Will Smith, so it's a little easier grade curve for me.
Yeah.
But one of the things they're talking about is that he might recast the whole thing, which a movie like Suicide Squad, you could do. You could bring in an entirely new roster of villains.
So not like he would recast the characters, but he would bring in entirely new characters.
Yeah. I would, if I were to guess, if I were to look into my crystal ball and try to predict what will happen, I think Margot Robbie and Will Smith will both be back, and the rest of the team will probably change. That would be my guess.
Yeah.
Don't put Joker in it. Don't. Just stop. Just stop.
With the Jared Leto Joker?
Just stop.
Yo, you don't like the Jared Leto Joker, dude?
No.
I think he might be my favorite character.
I know you're trying to troll right now.
What?
That's his troll face.
What's wrong with Jared Leto's Joker, dude?
It's weird when they announced the Joaquin Joker movie. I was like, bleh. I don't like that they're giving up on the connected universe, because I think that's something that makes the Marvel universe so awesome, and there's no reason they shouldn't be able to do it with the DC universe. But I think Joaquin's gonna be such a better Joker that I don't even care.
Well, it's also like, I kind of like it because it seems like they're sort of becoming aware of their own
certainly
incompetence with dealing with this already existing material.
The thing that confuses me about it, though, is now some things will be the official DC cinematic universe, and they're going to make other movies that just are standalone. It's just confusing. It's just weird.
So they still are.
They're still making like Wonder Woman 2.
Right.
Aquaman comes out next year. Mm-hmm. They're still making these movies in the lineup for their cinematic universe. And I'm just waiting for. They had said they were going to make. They were like, we have a Flash movie coming out, and then they were like, we're going to make it a Flashpoint movie. You know what the storyline Flashpoint is, right? When Barry runs back in time and saves his mom, and it changes the whole universe. So I was like, are they just going to like reboot their own universe by making a Flashpoint movie?
Right.
Because go ahead, your universe sucks. Except Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman's good.
Yeah.
It's the only good movie they've made. I would say Man of Steel is a good movie. It just has a lot of flaws. But it's like a 5. It's like an average movie.
It's very.
But there are things in that movie that infuriate me.
Like what?
Okay. I think that it's the worst representation you could ever have of Clark Kent's parents. They're literally the opposite of what they represent and should be.
It makes zero sense that you have someone like Superman who has all of these powers, and he is literally a god amongst men, right? And if he was raised by total assholes who are telling him, you don't owe anything to the human race. If they are telling him that, then
he probably just takes over the world.
Exactly. He would be an asshole. He would be a total jerk. If he's being raised by these people, then
in that movie, Pa Kent is an idiot. He would rather die than let Clark save their dog. He would rather, first of all, he would die over their dog, which is, I mean, I love dogs, but that's insane. Two, he would rather himself die saving the dog than just letting Clark save the dog. Because he wants him to keep his powers a secret so bad. But at a certain point, you're going to die, dude. That's so stupid.
It's also like so garbo because like Smallville handled it so much better
That's one of the best. That might be the best episode of Smallville.
Yeah. But Smallville was there's a lot of flaws in Smallville.
Oh yeah.
But the writing is not one of them.
There's some real bad stuff in Smallville, but there's also some really great stuff.
Yeah. But it just seems so ridiculous that like this huge Hollywood movie couldn't nail what like a CW show
from the early 2000s could nail.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't even get me started on the speech in what is it, Batman vs Superman, where she's like, I think that's when his mom says you don't owe the world anything, and it's just the complete opposite of the morals and what Superman represents as a character, which is that's something I'm super passionate about. Is the character of Superman represents something really wholesome and important, and it's weird. It comes from this thing where people go, "Oh, Superman's boring. Superman's boring." And yeah, in the wrong hands, he is boring. With a bad writer, he is boring.
And like, I also have a little bit of sympathy for like anybody that's trying to create anything that is Superman, because it is hard to execute.
It's very hard.
It's like it's not. I feel like Batman is a little bit more easy to execute, just because it's so much more relatable. You know, he's not an alien. Yeah. He's just a person. He's kind of crazy.
But that's all of these dark themes. That's like one of the big things. People always approach it with this thing, he's an alien and all these powers. At his core, he's the most human character.
Yeah.
He's the most average, everyday person.
And it's okay
Bruce Wayne's an insane person. He's completely bonkers.
Right.
But Clark just wants to live a normal life at his core.
Yeah.
He just wants to marry Lois and have a kid and be a reporter. But he's obligated because it's the right thing to do, to use what he has to help people. And that's the beauty of the character.
Yeah, like these recent the recent rendition of Superman kind of just robs the Clark Kent-ness of it all. Like the heart of Superman.
It. And I don't blame Henry Cavill. I think Henry Cavill could pull off a normal Clark Kent, a different version. I think he's perfect, especially in terms of the way he looks. He's like perfectly looks like Superman.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's any reason to think that he couldn't play a more joyous idea of Superman. I think he could do that. But in the hands that it was in, that's just not the direction it was taken. It was very bland and very dark.
Well, yeah, making a dark...
Not even dark. It's just gray.
There's obviously like an obsession with making things dark and gritty.
Ever since The Dark Knight.
Yeah, and...
Which... I hate the term dark. I hate when we're going to make a gritty, dark version of X.
Right.
Okay. What does that mean? Are you going to do like, are you going to do it well, or are you going to do the half version of that where it's just bad, where you're doing things, this character's going to... He's gonna cross the line because this is a dark movie. Or the thing that I think people confuse The Dark Knight with being dark. I think it's more grounded than dark. I think grounded is what people should be shooting for, not darkness.
It's realistic.
Yeah.
The way that Christopher Nolan approached his Batman universe was, if this actually happened in the real world, how would it happen?
Exactly. And I think, as like insane of an idea as Superman is, you can still do that. You can do that with literally any story. Suspension of disbelief. If this happened, how would it play out in the real world? I think like District 9 is a really good example of something like that.
Right.
District 9 is a really good example of, if aliens showed up, what might happen? And you look back on human history to determine that.
Yeah.
Because patterns and behavior don't change just because you're introducing an out there idea.
Right.
People in general are still going to treat things similarly to the way they've always done it. But that was a huge tangent from James Gunn, but I'm very passionate about Superman. But I guess what would you expect out of Suicide Squad 2 with James Gunn in charge? Are you excited?
Innovation.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy is just very creative, and he's not afraid to be weird, which I kind of like, and it's sort of in the worst way. Sort of, it is exhibited through those awful tweets.
Yeah.
Because he's literally just trying to be edgy and trying to be out there in order to entertain people, and like that's what he did in a much more refined, way,
much cleaner way,
with Guardians of the Galaxy,
yeah.
a more family friendly way.
It's a Marvel movie. It's a Disney movie. They can't. Yeah. There's lines you can't cross.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to bring up. I think if this whole movement of the DC universe of being, I think if anything, he's gonna have more control over his own projects than he would have at Marvel. I think Marvel gave him maybe more control over Guardians than they gave anyone anything, except maybe Jon Favreau on the first Iron Man movie,
right?
And maybe Taika Waititi on Thor 3. But other than that, I think he had the most control over his projects of anyone at Marvel, and you can really feel the stamp of his creativity on those movies. And I think he's going to have even more with this movie because of this direction that DC's going, where they're not as concerned about everything being connected and everything matching this overarching tone. I think he's going to be able to really put his own stamp on whatever his ideas are for Suicide Squad.
Do you think has DC done any superhero movies that are rated R? They haven't really explored that yet, right?
No.
Do you think that it's possible?
I think only
that would be
Deadpool
so
Logan.
much fucking cooler, and I feel like James Gunn would be so much more comfortable. If I had James Gunn, I would let him make a rated R Suicide Squad movie.
I think you're right. I think he could make a very good rated R Suicide Squad.
But will they do it?
I don't know if they'll do it.
Yeah.
I think the gauge for that will be when Joker comes out. If Joker's rated R, I think they'll let him go rated R. But I don't know what Joker's going to be.
So, how is Martin Scorsese involved with that movie?
I don't think he's involved.
Is he just
producing?
producing?
I think it's inspired by Scorsese's style.
Oh, okay.
That's the tone they're going for.
That's
yeah,
lame.
I'm pretty sure.
I thought that
he might be a producer.
Okay.
If anything, but I know that just what they're going for is a Scorsese style movie, crime movie specifically.
Right. So that's James Gunn.
Yeah, that's James Gunn. I want to stay in superhero realm for a sec, but jump over to a couple trailers came out. So I'm going to bring up some, but the first one will stay in superhero realm. Possibly my most anticipated movie of the entire year dropped another trailer last week, and that is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
That is your most anticipated.
Dude, I've had the picture of Miles with his Air Jordans on, clung to the side of the building,
right,
with the hoodie up, as my computer background for like over a year.
So you're hyped for this.
I'm so excited.
Do you want to get explain what Into the Spider-Verse is supposed to be?
Okay,
and, what you think?
So
why you're excited for it?
Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is an animated movie with one of the most unique visual styles that I've seen in recent. It's so unique looking. The color palette is amazing. The art direction is so interesting, and it's just different. Like you were talking about innovation with James Gunn. This is innovative looking. It is based on a storyline from the comics called Spider-Verse, where different Spider-Men from different universes come together to fight a common enemy. In this movie, we have Peter Parker, but it's like old. It's Jake Johnson. Peter. There's no other way to describe it than Jake Johnson, Peter Parker. He's like old, and he's like kind of like he's like a hobo. He's a hobo Spider-Man, but that's Peter Parker. Our main character is Miles Morales from the Ultimate Universe in the comics. He's being voiced by Shamik Moore, who I really like. He's our main character. And
Shamik Moore from
Dope, The Get Down.
That's right. Those are his two biggest products.
Yeah, and Mahershala Ali is voicing his dad. There's a lot of really good talent in this movie. And then we learned recently that Gwen Stacy, but the Spider-Gwen version, so another alternate universe where Gwen became Spider-Woman and Peter didn't become Spider-Man.
Right.
She's in this. Nick Cage is voicing Spider-Man Noir, which is hysterical. And then I think it's Mark Maron. Or no, it's SNL writer John Mulaney is voicing Spider-Ham.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Haley Steinfeld is Spider-Gwen. But it's like it's all these Spider-Men from different universes, and it's like just silly enough because you can go just a little sillier because it's animated. Like you can put Spider-Ham in it.
Right.
It'd be hard to pull off in a live-action movie.
Yeah.
But you can throw him in an animated movie. It's funny.
Yeah.
And I don't entirely know what their storyline's going to be. They haven't really talked about the villain. I don't really know what the villain. They're all here. in the same universe for some reason. But the thing that I'm so excited about is the visual aspect of it and the tone that comes across in these trailers. I just love it so much.
Because it seems like it's just going to be really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This like the shot where he jumps off the building and they have all of New York. It's just so beautiful. Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it.
It's sort of the opposite of what we just talked about with Suicide Squad and like a lot of like mainstream movies like trying to release dark and gritty versions of their superheroes, which is something that Spider-Man should not be.
No, certainly not.
It needs to be fun and grounded and emotional. And relatable, because that's what made Peter Parker so interesting in the first place, was the fact that he was just this kid from Brooklyn that was, struggling, and what he's
his personal life is more hectic than his superhero life.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm insanely excited for this movie. The newest trailer showed off some more of the characters that are going to be in it, and we heard their voices a little bit, and I'm just. It might be my most anticipated movie of the rest of the year. I just can't wait. Been waiting for it for a while.
It looks dope.
Been waiting for it for a while. What else came out? Oh, okay. Here's one. The Rocket Man trailer came out. And semi-recently, the
Bohemian
Rhapsody trailer came out. So I wanted to get your ideas on similarities, differences, and anticipations for both of them, because they're both, for those who don't know, Rocket Man is a biopic about Elton John. Bohemian Rhapsody is a biopic about Queen, but more closely Freddie Mercury himself.
Also, this is one thing that we have to talk. Is it biopic or biopic?
I've always said and heard biopic.
I feel like around our friend group, we've always used biopic.
It might be biopic.
But I've never heard anybody else like outside. I feel like it might just be this like echo chamber of all of us saying biopic to each other.
Oh, we might be wrong.
But I think that it's biopic.
That makes more sense.
Biopic?
Biography picture. Like, makes more sense.
But biopic like rolls off the tongue so much better than biopic.
Yeah. Makes it sound smarter.
But biographical pictures. I'm hesitant with both of these movies.
Really?
Okay. So biopics. Mm-hmm. I feel like they're these. Everyone always approaches biopics sort of the same way. It's something that I feel like maybe the ideas of the biopic that they are better as ideas than they are ever executed to be good biopics. Like, I don't know, like, what is your favorite biographical picture?
I don't know.
It's hard to think of one, right? I would say that the
Glory Road.
Okay. Does that really count? I mean, that's just because it's not really like it's not focused on an individual.
It's kind of about the coach, but it's more about the story.
It's more about the story. It is.
I'm half joking.
That's a real life story.
I have no shame of my undying love of the movie Glory Road.
But I would say that mine is probably Lenny.
Lenny?
Yeah. It's a movie with Dustin Hoffman. He plays Lenny Bruce, but it's a biographical picture about Lenny Bruce, who was like a really controversial comedian.
Oh, okay.
And like literally like stand-up comedy wouldn't exist today without Lenny Bruce's involvement and his sort of pushing, like he was very edgy and very super intelligent guy. Okay. But I would say Lenny was probably like the best biopic that I have seen. But I feel like every time I hear about a biopic, there's always this cycle of getting sort of hyped for it, wanting to, being like, oh man, this is such a controversial character. Like, this is going to be really cool, especially like when they're based on like musicians.
Yeah.
Right. Notorious was a movie that it seems like every biopic that I see is just like, I watch it and it's like, that could have been better.
Okay.
That could have been better. Like, it's just, they kind of fall
Notorious
flat
was one about Biggie?
Yeah. Apparently the Tupac biopic that I didn't see fell flat. A lot of people didn't like that.
That dude looked a lot like Tupac, though.
Oh yeah,
he looked just like Tupac.
For sure. Yeah, so
So you're more hesitant because of the overall movement of the genre than anything else.
Just because, like, because of. There's no precedent for like me to really.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm with you where when a biopic or biopic, whatever, is announced, the first thing you attach to is the subject of it, and does that excite you? So for me, Freddie Mercury and Elton John both seem like super interesting people to learn more about, to watch that happen on screen.
Now, how big of a fan are you of their respective?
I probably like
music.
know more Queen than I know Elton John.
Yeah,
but I'm not huge in everyone knows the generic Queen songs, and then I probably like go down like one more level. You know what I mean?
Like
there's like the songs that everyone there's the songs that everyone knows, and then if you dive one level deeper.
Oh, okay.
That's
so
where
like,
I would be with Queen.
I know a little bit,
but I'd probably be on that first level with Elton John.
Like do you know like Radio Gaga?
No. Well, no? I don't know. Another thing with me is if you played it, I'd be like, oh yeah, I know this song. I just don't know what it's called.
Oh,
Radio. This is not going to work.
That was a perfect rendition.
Okay.
No, but that's actually where Lady Gaga got her name from.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I wouldn't say that I am I'm an uber fan of both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like I do really love their music, but I always like forget like little things about like their respective backstories and lives and stuff. Like the guy that wrote all of Elton John's songs.
That's something I really want to see on screen. Jamie Bell's playing him. Mm-hmm. I already forgot his name. We looked it up right before we started this.
Bernie Taupin.
There we go. Bernie Taupin.
He's like a fucking musical genius.
Yeah.
And
he basically, the story is that Elton John like auditioned for some sort of role or to be a singer for something, and they basically said, do you have any of your own music? And he was like, no. They said, use this. This guy wrote it, but he doesn't sing. He sang it. He loved it so much that he called and found that dude and said, listen, I'm Elton John. I don't write music, but I sing. Can you write music for me? And they never looked back. Mm-hmm. That's like the general story. I'm sure there's much more detail to it, and we'll probably see it happen in this movie. But one of the things that I want to talk about with these two movies specifically is the leads. I think they're both great. I think Rami Malek, who's playing Freddie Mercury, and Taron Egerton, who's playing Elton John, are both really good young actors. I especially am a huge fan of Taron Egerton.
Okay, yeah. How much do you know about what's Rami Malek?
Yeah, I've never seen Mr. Robot.
I don't think I've seen him in anything.
I know I've seen him in something. I just can't remember what it was. It was like a minor role. I've never seen Mr. Robot, but everyone says he's great in it, and he looks like he's going to be very good as Freddie Mercury from the trailers. The thing that separates them for me, very specifically, I don't know if you noticed this when you watched either trailer. Taron Egerton is singing all the music. Rami Malek is not. They're using just the Queen, Freddie Mercury's voice. They're using Taron Egerton's voice for the Rocket Man movie, which I think is super interesting.
I knew going into watching that trailer that Taron Egerton was going to do that. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure if it was because I knew, but I felt like there's clearly like a discernible difference between Taron Egerton.
He's not Elton John.
I understand that he's not Elton John, but like,
he's a damn good singer though. He's a really good singer.
Yeah, and it depends on the context of the movie. Am I going to be able to sink into it? I'm not sure. I know in the trailer I was like, okay, like there is a difference here, and it is really interesting how people kind of approach that from a creative point of view, how to approach already existing musical material and recreating it with new actors, right? Because like Straight Outta Compton, they literally, all of the actors from Straight Outta Compton, they re-recorded the entire album.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And they
so like Ice Cube's son did all his dad's lines re-recorded.
Yes.
In the whole cast. That's really cool.
Yeah, and they sort of like mixed it up as far like they didn't use only the stuff that was recreated, and they didn't only use the stuff that was. So they kind of mixed and matched in certain parts.
That's a lot of editing work.
Yeah. But it is like super interesting, and I'm not sure like how they're approaching either of these movies. I know that Taron Egerton's doing his singing, but I am for sure interested in both of these movies.
Yes, certainly.
But I'm also tentative. I'm more tentative with Bohemian Rhapsody because I've heard that they're not digging into Freddie Mercury as much as they should. That they're I've heard that they're making it more of a puff piece than.
Oh, that's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, because it seems like it was.
He's a super interesting. He lived a really interesting life.
Yeah, yeah. But I don't know. Who knows? Like, I'm still hopeful.
You're not tentative. Like, you're not like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to see these. It's, I don't know how good they're going to be.
Yeah.
You want to see them.
Yeah.
It's just you're tentative about the quality.
No, fucking, like, when I see these trailers, like, I get excited for them.
Yeah. Okay. I'm the same way. Yeah. Certainly excited for them. Mm-hmm. This brings up, you're talking about biopics or whatever we're going to call them. We watched the Quincy Jones documentary, and it's something where a biopic can be great and everything. Mm-hmm. Very enjoyable. You can dive into someone performing as someone else is very interesting. But the level of access and insight that we got into Quincy Jones it's just called Quincy, right?
It's just called Quincy.
On Netflix.
It's on
just
Netflix.
Called Quincy.
Highly recommend it.
It was so interesting.
It's fascinating, right?
Oh man. The amount of respect and influence that man has had through his entire life.
And for those because there are people out there that don't know who Quincy Jones is.
Quincy Jones.
They know of his music, like, so
without knowing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Do you like Michael Jackson? Thanks, Quincy Jones. Mm-hmm. He wouldn't exist without Quincy Jones. It's crazy.
Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder, Ray Charles, like, these are all musicians that he worked with. He not only did he, like, produce his own music and help develop stars.
He's mostly known as being a producer.
Yes, but he's also done film scores and stuff like that too.
What did it say? Over
5,000
films.
Like,
original pieces.
Prolific.
It was crazy the amount of work he did. Mm-hmm. It was crazy.
But just very, very well respected amongst the musical community. Mm-hmm. And
so influential.
And even people now.
Kendrick Lamar.
Contemporary artists like fucking Kendrick Lamar.
That might have been my favorite scene of the documentary. Mm-hmm. The amount of respect just oozing out of Kendrick when he's in awe talking to Quincy Jones. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. And you can tell.
Yeah. It's
so cool. But I think the difference between a documentary like that and a biopic of a music, because we're talking about musicians, most people don't. It seemed like he was giving access to cameras his whole life. And we don't know why there's so many times he's being filmed throughout his life. He was literally, like, mic'd up for things. Mm-hmm. So it might have been for different projects, and they collected it all.
Like, there's a point where he visits his childhood home, because he's from the south side of Chicago, right? Mm-hmm. And he visits his the home that he grew up in for the first time in, like, 40 years or whatever.
Yeah.
And while it's this old footage. I mean, because it wasn't like this footage came from, like, 2015 or something.
No. It's probably like 20 years old.
Yeah, it's like 20 years old footage. Yeah. But he has a lav mic on him while he's going through his old house.
And he's getting really emotional, but you can hear everything he's saying.
Yeah.
And credit to Rashida Jones, his daughter, who you may know from The Office and Parks and Recreation. Mm-hmm. She directed the documentary. And, basically, whenever she was in a car with her dad, she was filming an interview and asking him questions. Just, the dude lived a fascinating life, and the documentary is amazing. And we just wanted to highly recommend it. I thought it was an interesting parallel to the biopics.
Yeah.
Just the difference in the access and stuff is so interesting to me. But there's one more trailer I wanted to talk about.
Oh, shit. Are we going to... On 3, I think we should name the movie. You ready?
For a trailer?
Yeah, for the trailer.
1, 2, 3.
Aladdin.
Nice.
Oh, damn.
Aladdin came out last night.
Right. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I watched it.
A lot of sand.
A lot of sand.
A whole lot of sand.
A lot of CG.
Reminded me of my deployment.
A lot of sand.
In the Navy.
A lot of CG.
I started getting
not a lot of meat. There's not really much to dig into in that trailer. It's that
a
is
lot of meat. Is that what you said?
Meat. Not
a lot of meat. Yeah. I thought you said there was a lot of meat.
No, there's not.
I was like, was there like a part where they showed the marketplace or something, and there was, like, hanging meat?
Nope, they don't show the marketplace.
Okay. You meant like in a symbolic sense.
In a symbolic sense. There's just
nothing
to
sink.
There's not a lot to sink into.
There's no substance.
Yeah. There's basically nothing. It's very much a teaser. That's what a teaser trailer should be.
Yeah.
But I did see a funny comment about it where they said, "Shirt under the vest, unwatchable."
Oh, I didn't even realize.
He's wearing
that.
a shirt.
I just realized how slick his hair was.
That was another thing. Yeah,
so
he had very smooth hair. I'm excited for that movie. I'm not one of these people who, when they hear that Disney's making a live action version of a movie, that I get angry about it. I'm like, no, cool. I'm interested. I think that it's very. I think their choices of directors are interesting. Like Guy Ritchie's directing this movie. I think that I love the fact that they're doing these world scouring searches for the leads. I don't know who this dude playing Aladdin is.
Right.
Naomi Scott's playing Jasmine. She's been in like Power Rangers and she was in Terra Nova on TV
Oh
a few
my
years ago.
God! What did I already know that?
I don't know.
Oh my!
But
why am I? That's so perfect.
Yeah, she's great.
That is so perfect.
She's great.
Oh my God! I'm gonna fall in love with Jasmine all over again.
Yeah, all over again.
Oh God!
But Will Smith is playing the genie, and that's like the big contention. You need a second? You need a second?
That's so great. That's so great.
Yeah, she's great. She's gorgeous. But yeah, Will Smith is playing the genie, and that's like this big source.
What does Aladdin rank for you as far as animated movies?
So we've gone over this.
We have?
I think so. Maybe it wasn't you. My favorite Disney movie of all time is Lion King. I love Lion King.
I feel like
I did not watch Aladdin barely any growing up because my mom didn't like it. My mom was just like, about Aladdin. So when she would put in Disney movies, she just never put on Aladdin.
Huh.
And I was never like, I want to watch Aladdin. I don't know Aladdin super well. I love Lion King. I love Hercules. I love Moana. I love all Disney movies. Basically every Disney movie. I like it.
Huge jump in like the chronology.
Oh, there was a
Disney movies.
Well, there was a thing on Twitter.
I love Moana. yeah. I know that I was 24 when it came out, but
there was a thing on Twitter like semi recently. Where it was like there's some kind of hashtag where it was like your Disney 3 or something, or Disney 4 it might have been, but you just put a picture of like the things your favorite. It was like your favorite or the ones you related to them. I don't really know what it was, but I put something from Lion King and something from a picture of Hercules and a picture of Moana. And I was like, the Moana, just one of these things is not like the other, but I love Moana so much. But yeah, so I'm excited for Aladdin. But it's just not much to go on from that trailer. We don't even know what Will Smith's going to look like.
You're also like a little bit more, so you probably don't have as much of an attachment nostalgia wise
to Aladdin. I have basically none. But at the same time, I have an insane amount of nostalgia attached to Lion King, and I'm super excited for the Lion King live action movie.
Right.
That cast off the rails. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Woo! Donald Glover as Simba. Are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm. And then the young dude that sang with him on
this on his album. That kid is playing young Simba. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is like perfect because when you hear him on that album, you're like,
he performed at the Grammys with him.
Yeah, it was
super
sick.
Cool.
It was a dope
was really
performance. Cool. I have a huge attachment to Aladdin. Mm-hmm. I would say that this is like competing with Lion King.
Most boys our age grew up loving Aladdin.
Yeah,
I am in the minority here.
Yeah,
in terms of dudes who grew up in the 90s, Disney movies they liked.
Yeah,
most dudes liked Aladdin. I just didn't. I wasn't super exposed to it.
Yeah, I fucking loved it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited for it.
Yeah, me too.
But it's weird because I feel like I am more excited for Lion King too.
Can I give you a rumor that might freak you out a little bit? Apparently, Will Smith is not going to look like the genie as we know him. He's just going to be Will Smith, bald with a ponytail. That's the face I was waiting for.
Will Smith bald with a ponytail by itself, like with no context as far as like attaching it to Aladdin, like it's bizarre by itself.
Speechless.
Yeah, I don't know how to feel about that.
I don't even know if he's going to be blue.
I don't know how you should approach like a genie in
a live action movie.
In a live action movie, I would think that they would just CGI it and fucking make him look.
I thought it was going to be like motion capture. I thought it was going to be a motion capture performance.
Like like but like still make him with CGI like this ethereal thing.
Yep. That's what I expected. Apparently, I mean, this might be wrong. It's just a rumor I saw. Apparently, it's just going to be Will Smith.
Is this? Oh my God.
And this is like the biggest contention of this movie.
You know what it makes me think of,
like,
dude?
The Robin Williams level is so hard to live up to.
You know what it makes me think of?
What?
Kazam.
That's the joke that everyone was making. Yeah, that's the joke. Yeah. Yo, give me a remake of Kazam with Joel Embiid.
Dude, how many people do you think don't know what Shazam is or Kazam is?
A lot, probably. I barely know what it is. I just know Shaq plays a genie.
You never actually saw it?
No, I just know Shaq plays a genie.
Yeah,
it's horrible.
That's literally all it is. Shaq plays a genie. You don't have to like explain anything.
There's nothing else
with
to
that
get
movie.
into with it.
Shaq plays a genie.
Shaq plays a genie.
Yeah, but I'm for sure more hyped for Lion King.
Well, Jungle Book was so good, and it's going to be the same, technology and process as Jungle Book was.
And Jon Favreau is still involved with it, right? He's the one that's directing Lion King. Am I wrong?
I'll find out.
Do.
But yeah.
But as far as cast, while you look that up, Mahershala Ali, right? Donald Glover's playing Simba, at least.
Dude, Seth Rogen is playing Pumbaa.
Oh,
how perfect is that?
Fuck.
The only thing I'm sad about is that
who's the guy from The Daily Show that does
John Oliver is playing Zazu. The only thing I'm sad about is that they're not bringing back Nathan Lane to play Timon. Billy Eichner's playing Timon, which I like. Billy Eichner. He's got his bits, the yelling bit. He's a funny guy.
Yeah,
but Nathan Lane is so legendary as Timon. Mm-hmm. It's just so good. Directed by Jon Favreau. You're right.
And they are
Beyonce,
back,
dude. Beyonce.
And oh shit! And they are bringing back James Earl Jones.
Yes,
right?
He's the only returning cast member. Chiwetel Ejiofor is playing Scar. Oh my god.
Shit.
That movie's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, it's gonna be sick.
I'm way more excited for Lion King than Aladdin, but I am excited for Aladdin. Mm-hmm. I think it's gonna be cool. Yeah, they're casting Little Mermaid right now. There's the rumor that Zendaya is gonna play the Little Mermaid. I don't know if that's real or not, or if they've moved any further with that. But they just finished the casting, or they just released recently the first image for the Mulan movie. There's a bunch of live action Disney. I'm excited for all of them though. I think it's cool. I'm not on that side of people that are like, that's just a cash grab.
I do. So when I hear about these movies coming out, I do like understand like I get like a little bit of a guttural reaction. That's just like, what? Like why are you? Why, like, oh, okay, you're just, everything is just going to be a remake of already existing material, and I do appreciate when original movies come out.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think being excited for one makes you the antithesis of the other. I don't think loving original movies coming out means you can't love a remake of a Disney movie. Or a rehash of a Disney movie.
But I do find, that the reaction of the distaste for all of these live action remakes, I can relate to it too, even though I do like the fucking remake of Beauty and the Beast. Mm-hmm. I loved it.
That's the closest to the original too.
Yeah.
Jungle Book was different than Jungle Book, and Maleficent was way different than Sleeping Beauty. That's not as much of a remake and more of a offshoot.
Yeah. Cinderella.
Cinderella was very close. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
there was some weird stuff in there. But I do enjoy them, and they are well done movies. I don't think that any of them are really bad movies, and I think that people do.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt your thought, but you mentioned Beauty and the Beast. Were you bothered by Emma Watson singing in that movie?
No.
Not one bit.
No.
I was not one. I see comments about that movie everywhere. Just people go, oh, if only they could have got someone better than Emma Watson. It was so obvious that she was auto-tuned. And it's like everyone in a musical is always auto-tuned except for Les Mis.
I think people are sort of addicted to their own cynicism.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. I think more than ever, this is something that really bothers me about just talking about the kind of stuff that we're talking about, is we live in a time where it seems like you either have to love or hate something. There's no middle ground. Mm-hmm. Things can't have good and bad in them anymore. It's so weird.
Well, there's a lot of like separate elements to it. The idea that a lot of people subconsciously cannot admit their own optimism for popular things. Mm-hmm. As soon as especially it's widely it's rampant in music, as soon as a musician becomes popular, people start hating on that musician.
Oh yeah.
Which
Logic's like a perfect example.
Logic is a perfect example. But it is like the most common thing when you bring up someone's music and you bring up a talented artist, like it's almost like everyone's first reaction is like, oh, I love their earlier stuff.
I love Maroon 5. You say I like Maroon 5, it's I only like their first album. It's like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Cool.
And there is a lot of things that go into that. There is just for probability's sake, like when more people, when someone becomes more popular and their artistry becomes more popular, there's going to be more people that listen to it, and therefore more people that aren't going to like it.
Yep. Just a numbers game.
Yeah, and people are also going to be more likely to dislike it because it's more of an obligation, you know. But like, say if you're taking someone like Logic, you know, if you're taking a musician who's becoming popular and then their songs are on the radio all the time, well, now that person becomes more of an obligation, because before, if you wanted to listen to Young Sinatra 1 or 2, you would have to actually go back and on your own accord listen to that music.
You have to go on SoundCloud or YouTube or something.
Whereas like fuck, what was his?
Everybody.
Yeah,
not Africarian. Everybody.
Yeah,
I know that's what you're doing.
I always fuck it up. So, whereas everybody, you'll hear it on the radio. You'll hear it at fucking Buffalo Wild Wings at a bar or somewhere, and so there is a lot of elements to why people just instantly start hating the more popular artistry.
I think that people look for reasons to not like things more than they look for reasons to like things. And that's sad to me.
But being optimistic about something and putting yourself, it is putting yourself out there. It's almost well, to me, it's a form of vulnerability.
You're exposing yourself to, because if it's bad,
because if you're saying,
hurts.
Yeah, like, because if you put yourself out there and say, hey, I'm really excited for Venom, right? And it ends up sucking, right? Your taste is now bad.
Yeah.
You know, you put your stamp of approval on something that has been proven as shit.
Yeah.
Right. And therefore your opinion is now inferior, and people are not going to come to you.
Well, that's another, like, just having multiple websites out there that numerically rank art. It's art. Yeah. A movie is a piece of art, no matter how, you know, high concept or low concept the movie is. It's a piece of art that was put together by hundreds of people. It's a hard process. And now there's just, you put a number on it and everyone expects that's just what it is.
Right.
And having your own idea of it, whether it's less or more than what the masses think of it.
Dog, can we pause this? Because I got to piss.
Yeah.
All right.
For sure. We back and we back and we back.
We back. Sorry, guys. I have like the smallest bladder known to man.
Oh, great.
It's almost as small as my hands are. I got these tiny little Big Mac hands, dude.
Tiny little Big Mac hands.
Well, you know that Big Mac commercial where the guy has the tiny hands and he can't go?
Yeah.
Is it Big Mac or is it like Whopper? I don't know. I forgot.
I don't know. Did we finish talking about Aladdin?
Aladdin? I think
we leapt somewhere different.
I don't really want to talk about Aladdin anymore. I want to talk about this relationship between like the audience and artistry and it being popular and stuff.
Yeah, okay.
So
that's where we were. That's right.
Yeah. So another thing that it like is just a common pattern that happens with any kind of artist, and especially musicians, is that like their early work is it exists in a time where like they aren't popular, you know, and
you have your whole life to work on your first album.
True, but it comes from a different place.
Yeah, certainly, especially when you talk about like a hip hop artist.
Yeah,
because often they come from these hard backgrounds, and that's poured into their first work.
Yeah, and it's so much more grounded, and it comes from so much more of a real place. Whereas like, you know, if Eminem comes out with an album now, how grounded is it? You know, like how
did pretty well, but I didn't listen.
Kamikaze is good, but it's good for specific reasons. You know, it's not.
Well, it's also Eminem, so you know it's going to be technically proficient. Anything that he makes is going to be rapped well, despite whatever he's rapping about.
But so let's talk about Young Sinatra 4.
Logic's newest. don't even know what to call them. They're all mixtape. I don't know. I don't know.
I like it.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
It's not.
I really enjoyed it.
It's weird because it kind of. It's not really. Is it book ended, or is it just the beginning that sort of includes what was in?
Oh, Kai and the characters from
yes,
The Incredible True Story. It's just the beginning. It's the end of everybody leads into the beginning of Young Sinatra 4.
Right.
Basically, Logic tricked us.
Yeah.
He made us think it was going to be his last album,
Fuck
and then he
that.
was like, "No, it's just the last."
It's his
Sinatra.
His fourth album. His last one.
It's
I was just talking about the Young
Sinatra collection.
That was like, for me, I was like, that's fucking jumping the shark. Fuck you, dude. Like that. It kind of annoyed me.
Is it Jumping the Shark though? If you like the album, that kind of goes against Jumping the Shark. It's just kind of a bump. You're like, all right, I get it.
Yeah, okay.
It's like Iron Man 3.
It annoyed me.
Like Iron Man 3. It's like, you got me. Congratulations.
Oh, yeah, but I kind of liked. I like them doing it in Iron Man 3, but I also don't have an attachment towards like.
Well, no, I'm talking about how the trailers
expected this to be his last album.
Oh, wait. You thought this was the last album?
Yeah.
Oh no, bruh. No, that wasn't the presentation.
Huh?
That's why I said mixtape. This is specifically not his albums.
Right.
He has 3 albums.
But like I thought, I was like, okay, so this is going to be the last thing that he produces.
No.
But it's not.
Because since he made everybody, he also came out with Bobby Tarantino too.
Yeah.
Well,
I knew that was going to be a mixtape from the get.
Yeah.
And so I thought that like maybe he was going full circle, and this was the like, you know, with him naming it Young Sinatra 4, that he was like tapping into his roots again, and
he was shooting for that.
Yeah,
but
it's for sure not his. It's obviously not his last album.
Yeah, I think like the album specifically, I think like the first half of it is pretty good. It's, you know, basic Logic music, but there's a couple songs in the second half that I really loved. I love the 100 Miles and Runnin' when he goes off the rails.
Yeah, that's with Wale, right?
Yeah, and he goes like quadruple time with that rhythm that he's rapping at. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's super fast.
And the song Young Sinatra 4 I think is really good. Specifically those two I really enjoyed.
Yeah. I like all those. It is so I have this weird relationship with Logic's music because I found out about Logic from this old YouTube video. I was watching like some type of music video. I think it might have been like a BET cypher or something like that. And somebody posted in the comment, they named like 10 up and coming artists that were really good that you should listen to. And like to this day, like I've been listening to, I think like half of those artists that were on that list. So whoever made that comment, thank you very much.
Good work.
But Logic was on there. I think Isaiah Rashad and Jalen Santoy were on there. Who else was? But anyways, like, so I looked into Logic, and this was before Under Pressure even came out, before his main.
I remember you
album
showing
came
me what's the music video with Gumby in the car. What song is that?
All I Do.
Yeah, I remember you showing me that.
Yeah.
And being like, this dude's dope. And we were like, oh, hell yeah. And then Under Pressure came out, and we were like, oh, hell yeah.
Because the first video that I watched from him was Nasty. I don't know if you've heard Nasty.
I've heard it, but
it's
because I recently went back through like all his old stuff.
Yeah. But the music video itself was just kind of like grounded and cookie cutter like rap video, just him rapping in different locations and shit, but the song itself like sort of displayed his lyrical ability, and you could tell that he was someone who was putting thought into his music. And then I listened to All I Do, which I thought was a much better produced song than Nasty, and the beat is fucking sick. And I think that's probably one of Logic's like greatest his strengths is who he works with.
Six has never missed.
Yeah, he's
an amazing producer.
Yeah. And I as soon as Under Pressure came out, Under Pressure was incredible.
Under Pressure is my favorite Logic album. I think you might like The Incredible True Story the most.
Yeah.
I also love The Incredible True Story, but Under Pressure
Incredible
is my
True
favorite.
Story, which shorthand is tits.
Yeah.
Because The Incredible True Story is the acronym for it is tits. So if we do talk about tits from
Yeah.
Unless there's another.
I don't know. We might be talking about Logic. Who knows?
But yeah, Tits is for sure my favorite Logic album because I feel like it is the most creative.
So here's something I'll ask you. Specifically in that vein, we both love the creativity and the sort of how different The Incredible True Story is. A lot of people point to that as like the beginning of Logic being corny, and that being the main reason people don't like Logic.
Like because it comes, I can understand people thinking that it sort of comes off as a gimmick, that like this. I feel like that's why people say that it's cheesy. Why his certain stuff is cheesy.
Everybody is certainly cheesier.
He'll do stuff in Everybody like he'll have ad libs like who can relate. Woo! That's cheesy as fuck.
He also does.
Corny.
He spends a lot more time just talking over a beat on Everybody. He just talks, which he does again on Young Sinatra 4. But he does it it's like where it fits. It's in the last song, and it's it's his like thanking everyone for who've been there for him and all this kind of stuff. It comes across much better to me than it comes across on Everybody.
Yeah, because in Everybody it's like smack dab in the middle.
And he does it multiple times, and he basically keeps talking about the same thing. It's like, we get it. I love you, Bobby, but we get it.
Yeah, it's just a little bit, it's a little bit tired. Like, my problem with Everybody was just that it's too focused on the message.
Yeah.
And I have had conversations with people before about about why they listen to rap music. And a lot of people will say, like, I only listen to it for the lyrics, and usually like those people are like Tupac is my favorite artist. That's what they'll say. Which I can respect. But there is more to music. There's more to art than just the message.
Oh yeah.
Well,
I break hip hop into kind of, maybe if I'm listening to a rap song, I think I break it down into 3 categories. There's the lyrics, there's the production, the beat and all that's involved in the production. And then there's the call it flow. There's the way the artist sounds delivering the lyrics. It's a very different thing to me. Cuz you can give 3 different rappers the same lyrics and they will create 3 different songs.
Right. Would you include like their melody along with that flow?
That's in flow. Flow is a
generic
flow or sound.
Like their flow is an umbrella term which like includes melody.
Yep.
As well as their rhythm, their intonation.
Yep, exactly. It's the way they sound delivering their lines over the production.
And do you feel like when you're listening to Young Sinatra 4, are you like, all right, I'm kind of sick of this flow? Do you ever have those moments? I feel like there's a few times on Young Sinatra 4. I don't want to say
I'm sick of it, but I'm used to it.
Yeah.
He doesn't. So when you first start listening to Logic, he'll jump into the double time flow that he does, and it blows your mind.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my God, this dude's amazing. And he goes one level beyond that in this album on 100 Miles an Hour. He goes like quadruple time on that one. But I know what you're getting at. I don't want to say I'm tired of it because I still like it. I like the way it sounds.
I wouldn't even just say when he raps fast, like that double time, quadruple time stuff. I'm not even saying just that, but his delivery, it's basically across multiple songs. Like it seems like he's not innovating enough.
Well, that's why I say the first half. I think the first half of the album specifically blends together. It all sounds the same.
Right.
It's more cookie cutter.
Yeah.
Than the second half of the album,
which is something like. I respect it when because certain artists are very good at switching up their flows so well.
Yeah.
It's something J. Cole
does it constantly.
I would say that J. Cole is the king of.
He does it constantly.
Like Kendrick, I would say is overall the greatest rap artist right now. But I would say that J. Cole has a better flow because he's more innovative, and it seems like every time he approaches a song, he has a new flow. He has new melodies that are syncing in with this music so well.
Yeah. If I could have someone like narrate my life, it'd be J. Cole. because he makes everything
because of the sound
cool.
of his voice.
He just makes everything sound so cool. He just makes everything sound so cool.
You wouldn't pick any voice actor?
Nope.
You would literally
J. Cole. Nope. J. Cole.
like every voice
Steve
actor.
Bloom, get out of here. I want J. Cole.
Every voice actor's like, motherfucker. Already having a hard time getting jobs. I can't even hypothetically nail this.
Narrate this dude's life.
Like it seems so superficial to like sort of grade someone's voice.
But you're a musician. Your voice is your
exactly.
instrument. Your voice is your instrument.
Yeah, your voice is your instrument, and some people just don't like the sound of a harpsichord. You know, like
some people just don't like the sound of Chance the Rapper.
yeah, I was gonna bring that up. I mean, some people I can't really. I can't judge you for not liking the sound of someone's voice.
You don't like it.
Yeah, if it just doesn't phonetically resonate with you, then
I don't like the sound of Future.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Huh.
I don't like future music. That's what I call it. Future music. Music from the future made by Future.
Yeah. It sounds like that Rick and Morty bit. You're not going to know.
Nope, I won't know it.
People music. People music. Sounds nice. But overall, like, I do really like Young Sinatra 4. Like, and it gets to this point with certain artists. Like, I know you definitely deal with this, like with Kanye, especially with what Kanye is doing right now. But you're so attached to their original work, and when controversy starts coming in, and people are collectively starting to discount their genius, because I honestly do believe that Kanye West
is a musical genius.
Is a musical
Absolutely.
genius.
I'll never stop listening to anything from College Dropout, Late Registration, all the way through Yeezus. I'll never stop. I love all of those works. The Life of Pablo is where it starts falling off for me.
Right. You're also like not the typical Kanye West fanboy, because you jumped in sort of.
Should I explain my backstory of discovering Kanye West? I didn't listen to rap really until high school. I think in 8th grade, when Akon's Don't Matter became one of the most popular songs on radio, I started getting into rap a little bit, and I would, sorry mom, if you're listening, I would tell my mom that I was downloading music like Akon. When I was downloading, I would download like a rap song on iTunes, and she'd say, who? She would see it. She'd be like, who is this? I'd be like, oh, it's like an Akon song. And that's how I would get away with it. Which she probably knew that's not what was happening. Like, she's smart. But
I remember, because I listened to rap music way earlier on than you did, but because of like just how I grew up, because I went to a predominantly black school.
In elementary school.
Yeah, in elementary school.
You were like one of the only white kids at your school, right?
But like at school I was listening to like rap and R&B, but then when I went home, like my parents were listening to country, and like they would listen to like Motown. Like my mom would be into that. My dad was into it too,
Motown.
and my dad was listening to like classic rock, AC/DC.
So like my parents, my mom likes more. She likes like pop from like the 80s and stuff. But like my parents, when they're together, they listen to country music almost predominantly. But my dad will also play things like James Taylor and Jimmy Buffett growing up. That was kind of stuff that I would listen to growing up. Yeah. But so when we got into high school, 808s and Heartbreak came out. And that was the first Kanye West that I ever listened to.
And it's so bizarre because a lot of people
they don't like
say
808s.
That. Well, they will say that that's sort of like the start of the downfall.
You could argue that, but then his magnum opus came out after that.
So
My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy came out after that.
That's his magnum opus?
For sure. For sure that's his magnum opus. Absolutely.
I would be interested in seeing like a poll of like Kanye West fans and
their favorite
album, because I feel like
College Dropout would be way up there.
I would say that College Dropout would be the number one.
It might be, but I don't think it would. I think My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
I don't know. I would say maybe 2. If I had to put my money on like what
if you were to bet, I
like. Actually, I don't know. I don't know if I've ever actually sat down and organized.
It's hard. It's hard. There's so much of it. It's really hard. But yeah, so 808s holds like this very special place for me because it was the first Kanye I ever listened to, and it like just changed. I was like blown away by it. I was like, wow. I just connected to it so much. And then I started going backwards and discovered the older albums, and I was like, oh, this was very different than 808s and Heartbreak, but I like it a lot. And then My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy came out, and it basically meshed both worlds together. And that's why I call it his magnum opus. It's the collection of all of his different styles up to that point. Plus he brought so many people involved in it and everything. And then Yeezus is just nuts. I love Yeezus. It's crazy. Yeezus is just insane.
A lot of people don't like Yeezus.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like Yeezus. It's crazy. I'm not a huge fan of The Life of Pablo. There's some songs. There's probably like 6 or 7 songs on it that I love.
Like, to me, if you listen to Ultralight Beam and you don't like it, I don't know if you can like rap music.
Paul Mamangakis.
Does he not like Ultralight Beam? Why?
We don't want no devils in the house.
He likes Chance, right?
I don't. Paul's very limited rap.
I like how we're just talking about.
Yeah,
one
Paul,
of our
we're talking about
that
you.
No one. There's gonna be so many people that listen to this.
What?
And be like, who the fuck is Paul?
Oh, jeez. Yeah, but I agree with you. I think Ultra Beam is one of Kanye's best songs ever. I love that song. But the project as a whole, I don't love. It's too long. There's a whole bunch of stuff on there that just doesn't need to be there. And now he's gone the opposite direction. Now he makes these like 7-song. In 1 month, he released 4 albums that he produced. One of them is his own. One of them is his and Kid Cudi's. One of them was Pusha T's, and one of them was Teyana Taylor's.
I only listen to Ye. I listen to
Kids
the
See
one with
Ghosts.
Kids See Ghosts.
Kids See Ghosts is amazing.
It's fucking great.
Kids See Ghosts is amazing.
We've also talked about this.
I think it's more Kid Cudi influence than Kanye influence. Because if you look at the producers on every song, it's mostly written, produced by Kid Cudi and not Kanye.
And Kid Cudi is, I feel like, a perfect example as far as like when we look at Logic and his message, you know, his undying
peace, love, and positivity, baby.
Peace, love, and positivity. It does get preachy, which
So I will agree that sometimes in his songs he can get preachy with it or corny with it. I will never accept the viewpoint that people go, oh, I'm just tired of the peace, love, and positivity. That's, what do you want? War, hate, and negativity? And what do you? What's your deal?
But just because people are sort of exhausted with that message doesn't mean that they want the antithesis of that message.
That's true.
And you know, it's Kid Cudi is such a perfect example because he isn't superficially about peace, love, and positivity. You know, like, but
he's very vocal about mental health, though.
He's vocal about his own mental health, but that's the thing with Kid Cudi is that he is so fucking personal, right?
Yeah.
And he is so he exhibits his own struggle so well within his own music as well as just social media and shit like that, and talking about what he's struggling through. That ends up becoming positive. Like, I don't know about you, but the fucking shit that I've gone through. There has been times when I've listened to Kid Cudi and it's pulled me out of fucking dark situations, you know, and
shout out Kid Cudi.
But that is the one of the powers of art. And I'm sure that Logic thinks about that, but I don't know if, like he, realizes that like he might be undermining his own message by trying to put it out so much.
Well, he's released some form of album or mixtape every year for something like 10 years. Do you think it would help him if he cut back and did a more normal route of releasing something every 2 or 3 years?
So I will never say that it is the wrong thing to do for an artist to be more personal. And
never, ever.
I want that from Logic. And not just his backstory of how he grew up.
I mean, he just got divorced.
Exactly.
I don't think he ever references that on the album.
He made a social media post about it, and I think that he mentions it. He does like that weird sort of loose.
Talks about a wife at some point.
Yeah, but like in going through a divorce and shit like that in Young Sinatra 4, but it's like one of those things where he sort of projects his own story onto another character. Yeah,
because he'll do that a lot. He'll rap as different characters a lot.
Yeah, which I find that innovative.
No, yeah, it's super cool.
I think that it's really cool. But I would enjoy. I want to hear what Logic's going through
now
emotionally.
Yeah,
you know, and what his process is, like what his struggles are right now.
Yeah, because no one ever doesn't have them. Did I phrase that right? Everyone's always going through something.
Everything's always, and it's different magnitudes of things.
Absolutely, yeah. Like obviously, a rap song about how like your microwave broke might not be very good, but in the hands of the right person, it could be amazing.
Fucking Kanye is gonna be rapping about dishwashers,
dude. I don't want to talk about him. I don't want to do it.
It's fine.
Makes me sad.
We've moved past Kanye.
Take your medicine, please.
It is kind of sad.
It's sad, dude.
It's sad how like
how can you be outspoken about things and then admit to not being educated about them, to not knowing what you're even talking about?
He's a crazy person. He's a crazy person.
I don't want to talk about it. I had one more movie before we move on from movies.
Let's do it.
We went into music, but I had one more movie thing. Yeah, it's fine. Vice, the movie about Dick Cheney.
How do you like that title?
Vice?
I don't really like it.
Yeah. If you said I'm going to go see Vice, I would be like,
it makes me think.
Is it a movie about like someone's issues, like my vices?
Right.
That's what it makes me think.
Like shame.
Yeah. Sure. It makes me think of something like that. I don't think of Vice President, but what are you going to call a movie about Dick Cheney?
Cheney.
Oh yeah, that's true. You could just call it. Could just call it Cheney. Or Dick. Or Dick. Yeah. Dick would be a better title.
It's directed by Adam McKay.
Yeah.
You know, like it's
who made The Big Short. This dude is not going to pull any punches.
You've seen The Big Short.
Yeah.
Okay.
Big Short's very good. Great performances.
Yeah, and it's something that deals with a lot of huge issues that are hard to grasp, and it approaches it from like sort of like a ground level point of view. Like you have Margot Robbie in a tub trying to explain to you like like these really complex economic issues.
Yeah.
And it's I'm fucking excited for it.
For Vice?
Yeah.
Me too. Can I tell you specifically why?
Okay.
2 words. Sam Rockwell. I would, if Sam Rockwell wasn't in this movie, I'd still be like, all right, cool, I'll see this movie. Christian Bale's amazing. Adam McKay doing a politically driven comedy dramedy. Right. Cool.
But he's playing George Deadwood.
But Sam Rockwell's in this movie? I'm in.
Dead?
I love Sam Rockwell. And he's doing, oh God.
He's in like probably like your favorite movie of all time, right?
You talking about The Way Back?
Oh yeah,
it's one of them. It might not be my favorite of all time, but it's one of them, and he's the main reason why I love it so much. Yeah, Sam Rockwell in The Way Back. I also haven't. There's like a bunch of Sam Rockwell movies I haven't seen. I haven't seen Moon. I still haven't seen 3 Billboards from last year. Like there's Sam Rockwell stuff that I still need to see that will make me love him even more.
Moon is good. I wouldn't say that it's like solely for the Sam Rockwell performance though. It's good.
Duncan Jones,
as
baby.
a like, yeah, it's cinematic as fuck.
Yeah.
Like I really like Moon just as a movie. 3 Billboards is almost like sort of the inverse of that. Like I feel like it is driven by their performances.
Yes.
And the writing is good too, but it's like if you told me like oh, we're gonna make this movie about 3 Billboards, I'd be very disinterested.
Outside Ebbing, Missouri, yeah.
Yeah, but if you told me like, oh, we're gonna make this movie about a one dude on the moon,
you're like, oh, cool, yeah, awesome. And Sam Rockwell's in it.
Oh, I want to watch.
But yeah, Vice. So, that was my first thing about Vice is just Sam Rockwell. The other thing, I'm so fascinated in Christian Bale and the way that he physically changes for roles.
Right.
The way he gains and loses weight is so interesting to me.
How much do you know about The Machinist?
Machinist is the one he got insanely skinny. I've
never
seen it, but I've seen pictures of him in it. It's like unhealthily scary looking.
Those that don't know anything,
unhealthy.
Those that don't know anything about The Machinist and what Christian Bale went through in order to prepare for that role. So The Machinist is all about this dude that hasn't slept for 2 years. That's what The Machinist is about. And in order to prepare for this role, Christian Bale, who is 6'1",
he's an actor. He might trick you. He's probably 5'10".
No, he's fairly big.
I'll find out. You keep talking.
But he's like 205 pounds. Normal weight is like 205 pounds. But he lost like I want to say like 75 pounds for this role.
Jiminy Christmas.
It was insane. And he looks fucking malnutrition.
Yeah, he looks, it's scary.
Yeah, but he basically went anorexic for the role. He was barely eating anything and constantly working out. And they had to have EMTs on set just in case he passed out or like he needed an IV or something like that.
Wow.
But aside, so in a weird way.
Okay, I have your exact numbers for you.
Go ahead.
In Equilibrium in 2002, he weighed 185 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
He is 6 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2004, for The Machinist, he weighed 121 pounds. He lost 64 pounds.
Ooh. Ooh.
And then obviously
So
played Batman and got huge.
That's a small human dog.
Yeah.
Not a small human dog, but like a small human. But he also gained weight for Batman.
Oh, certainly. Like, he took steroids and got huge. Yeah. He's gone back and forth between these now multiple times.
Yeah. I would say he's like as far as when it comes to quintessential method actors, he's probably like number 2. Like as far as like people.
Well, he's not method. Is he method in the way Daniel Day-Lewis is, where he, like when Daniel Day-Lewis is on a movie?
How would you say that it's different method?
Well, I'm asking. Do you know anything? When Daniel Day-Lewis is on a movie set, he literally becomes that. Like when he was filming Lincoln,
mm-hmm.
he did the whole movie in Lincoln, and he never broke character. When he met Joseph Gordon-Levitt at the wrap party, Joseph walked up to him and said, "Hey, Daniel, it's great to see you." And he said, "I haven't met you. I'm Daniel," because Abraham Lincoln met Joseph Gordon-Levitt, but not Daniel Day-Lewis. That's so crazy. That's so far and above.
So I don't know I'm not super well informed about the method
that Christian Bale goes through.
No, not just what Christian, but just method acting.
Oh, okay.
Right. But I'll try to include people that might not be, they've never heard of it.
Yeah.
Right? So method acting is basically something that was, I would say, widely introduced by Marlon Brando. And it's the main focus is the approach to your character and your immersion in the character itself. And method acting is becoming the character.
Heath Ledger as the Joker is
whereas
a great example.
So like before Marlon Brando, you would have all of these studio actors that were they would be hired on the characters that they have already played.
They're typecast.
Yeah,
as we refer to it now.
But they're also they're not sinking into a character as much as like the character just was written for them.
Yeah.
So like Humphrey Bogart is a good example. Like he is just someone who's just all right, and it's like very. But the crazy method actors are the ones that you see that are like just changing their appearance, their voice, and everything about them, like basically their identities in order to play these roles. Yep. And it's probably the most popular way, the most popular type of acting that you'll see today, is method acting. It's kind of, you're hard pressed to find people that aren't method actors today. I
think there's just different levels of it.
Obviously, there's
like there's like low level method acting, and then there's Daniel Day-Lewis.
I agree. I agree with that. But like, name someone also right now. Name the biggest actor right now that is not method.
I have no idea.
Tom Cruise. That is the biggest. He's like quintessential.
He's always the same. That's true.
Like, and maybe Keanu Reeves. I would say Keanu Reeves is another
dope
because he's someone that's like just kind of like when he plays John Wick, when he plays Neo, he's sort of playing the same person.
One just really loves dogs.
Dog.
No, he got another dog. Also, though, I would like to note that just because someone method acts doesn't mean they're good.
Yeah, I agree.
A lot of times somebody would be like, he's a method actor, he's amazing. Jared Leto method acted his ass off for the Joker, and it's not good. He was sending his castmates like gross stuff in the mail and doing all this weird stuff. It's not. That doesn't mean you're going to be good.
True. I agree for the most part that like just because you're doing the method, like Tom Cruise is a fucking dope actor.
No, Tom Cruise is
people
awesome.
sleep on him because he is not a method actor, but Tom Cruise fucking nails it in a majority of the roles.
Yeah, Tom Cruise
is
is awesome.
in. Like I enjoy Tom Cruise whenever I see him in a movie
for sure.
Yeah, and exactly like, but that's also a weird area that you're getting into as far as Jared Leto and method acting and stuff.
So
like,
that's where I was confused here. I've always thought method acting was just this grandiose thing.
I might be straight up wrong.
You might be wrong, but you're presenting it that method acting is anyone who changes from movie to movie, basically. I didn't know that. That might be the general definition. But I don't know.
I mean, method acting isn't as superficial as that. Like I'm dressing up as someone different. You know, like obviously, like the aesthetic that Keanu Reeves displayed in The Matrix was way different than
John
Wick, right? Like they look very different. But how it's about how they approach the roles. Like method acting is more about a philosophy than it is and a process than outward appearance than like anything superficial.
Interesting. But in that sense, Christian Bale is certainly a method actor. Yes, as we came from. But not only does he do the get really skinny and then get jacked for Batman and then go back to normal, he also gets just chubby.
Oh yeah,
American Hustle, and now this movie.
Oh yeah,
he put on a bunch of weight and got fat. So he it's very interesting to me the way that he fluctuates his body around to play these roles. When it was announced that Christian Bale was playing Dick Cheney, I was like, huh?
It's weird, right? Like why would he?
Like Dick Cheney was old when he was the vice president,
right?
But I think he's playing him throughout different parts of his life in this movie. I'm pretty sure. Right. But just from the trailer, yeah, like you said, I'm excited for this movie. Adam McKay makes it really interesting, and the Sam Rockwell, the bit he's doing a comedy bit. He's doing a comedy bit playing George W. Bush. It's funny as hell.
But Adam McKay is someone who is really good at sort of navigating differences in tonality. Like The Big Short is a movie that could tackle these really complex ideas as well as making it funny, having all of these different kinds of characters, but also making it emotional as well.
Certainly.
Like there are parts in that movie when those guys that are celebrating because there's like the housing market crash, and they basically bet against that, and like they start dancing and stuff, and Brad Pitt's like, no, like,
Brad Pitt's super good in that movie.
Yeah, but Brad Pitt's character in that movie is like, no, like think about this: every like 1% that the housing market drops, like 1,000 people lose their lives because of suicide. Like, no fucking dancing.
Yeah.
And that's fucking heavy. He can navigate those tones really, really well.
It's hard to do.
Yeah, and it seems like that's something that he could do really well with this.
Is he? What did he make before that? He did more comedy stuff, right? Like more on the comedy side. This is something he's getting into more and more. It's very interesting. These sort of they're politically driven movies for sure. I'm very interested in it. I also don't know a ton about Dick Cheney, like we were talking about biopics. I'm
surprised that we've talked about Vice for this long, and you have yet to bring up this person.
What person? Sam Rockwell.
Nope. You brought up Sam Rockwell.
Oh, I did? I didn't realize.
Steve Carell?
Is he in it too?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. He's in the trailer.
Yeah.
He's great in The Big Short. Steve Carell is working. My man is working. He quit The Office to do dramatic roles, and that dude is working. He's so good.
I love Steve Have you seen Carell. Foxcatcher?
Yeah, dude, he's awesome in Foxcatcher. He's creepy as hell.
Creepy deepy.
Ooh, he's in the way back, dude.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That might be the furthest from Michael Scott he's ever gone. Not Foxcatcher. He's such an asshole in that movie.
He's such a dick.
That movie draws you in so quick because in the very beginning of the movie, he asked the kid, rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. He forces the kid to rate himself on a scale of 1 to 10. The kid says, I don't know, 6. A normal thing you might expect an insecure kid to answer. Right. He says, I think you're a 3. How can you do that? Oh!
fucking worst. Like, and he's trying. It's like he's. The
You know,
interesting part about it is that he's not trying to be a dick. He's actually trying to help the kid out.
But he's just a horrible person.
Because he is a horrible person, like he's just revealing how horrible he is.
You know, Jim Rash, who was one of the writers and directors on that. Nat Faxon is their writing partners. Jim Rash, who you may know from Community as Dean Pelton, or from Sky High.
Coming in for a landing.
Or from Sky High as the creepy sidekick thing. Shout out to that movie. He said that conversation was based on a conversation he had in real life when he was a kid.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. That's awful.
Jim Rash, I think you're more than a 3.
Yeah, dog. You a solid 4.
Oh, man. I don't have any other movie stuff, but I do have a TV thing I want to talk about.
Go ahead, dude.
Star Wars, baby.
There's a Star Wars baby movie coming out? Or
Star Wars babies. No. Jon Favreau's...
Is it like Baby Geniuses?
The first...
lightsabers?
First of all, let's have that made somehow. Second of all, no. Baby Geniuses 3, Star Wars babies. Jon Favreau's Star Wars TV show, which is going to be released on Disney Play, Disney streaming service that's coming out, has finally been revealed as to what it is. It's going to be called The Mandalorian. Do you know what a Mandalorian is?
Give me a second here. Yeah, give me the Jeopardy theme song while I come up. Boba Fett.
Yeah, you got there.
Got it.
Boba Fett and his daddy Django are from Mandalore. Mandalore is a planet in Star Wars, blah, blah, blah. There's a great character in Star Wars Rebels named Satine, who's a Mandalorian, and she's hella dope. Anyway, The Mandalorian is the name of the show. There's not many more details than that other than a picture they put out of the costume, which looks amazing. But the rumor is that Pedro Pascal is playing the lead. And I don't remember. Oh, we talked about this in our spoiler episode last week. How Hot Noah should be a character in the Star Wars universe.
Right.
And how when you said it, it struck me as to how obvious that was.
Right.
Pedro Pascal in the Star Wars movie did the same thing to me. I was like, oh, yes.
Yeah.
He belongs there.
Yeah.
He belongs in the Star Wars.
For those that don't know who Pedro Pascal is, he was the Viper in Game of Thrones.
He was also in Kingsman 2, The Whip.
Oh, yeah. He plays like the cowboy guy in Kingsman 2. Yep. And he's also in Narcos.
Yes.
Which a lot of people fucking love that show. I haven't seen a single second
either,
of it.
But people love it. But yeah, that's when I heard Pedro Pascal was rumored to be the lead. I thought it was perfect.
I was enamored with his character in Game of Thrones.
Oh, he's incredible.
I loved his performance.
He's incredible in Game of
Thrones. It was so strange, like because he was so
he was
badass.
He was hypersexual.
Very sexual.
Hypersexual.
Like he was bisexual in that, right? Like
yeah,
that dude liked to party.
That dude. What's the term for even when you go beyond? Is it pansexual? When you'll have sex not only with a man or a woman, but you'll have sex with like transsexual. Maybe. I think he'll just fuck anything.
Yeah, but he was such a fucking badass, and like his delivery of his lines, like there's a part in Game of Thrones that just sticks in my mind where he's this dude tries to pull out a longsword, but he like quick pulls out a knife, and he's like, knives are better for close quarters. And I'm like, it just gets me every time I think about that line.
Yeah, everyone like remembers the head explosion and everything, and that fight scene, which was awesome, but just his whole run in that show is just off the charts acting. Like he's so good. Man. So when I heard he was gonna be potential lead in a Star Wars show called The Mandalorian, he's gonna fly around in that armor? What's he up to? It's cool because what this presents itself at, it takes place after episode 6, before episode 7. So well before like we ever know who Rey and Finn are and all that, and after the Empire's fallen. And apparently he's going to be running around on the fringes of the universe. It makes me think of Firefly, but a Star Wars spin on Firefly. And I love Firefly. Western in space is kind of the vibe people are expecting from this right now.
I'm about to get a lot of hate. Never seen a Firefly. Tried to watch Firefly. Didn't really.
You're weak, man. You're weak.
I think I might have gotten like 5 minutes into it. And
how can you not give something more of a chance than that?
It seemed like I'm most likely so fucking wrong about Firefly.
You are.
But when I watched it, like I felt like I was like, is this like a sci-fi original? Like it just
it's
seems
old,
so
dude.
cheesy.
It's old.
But I didn't watch it when it came out, so I don't have like.
I didn't either. I didn't watch it until 2 years ago.
Trying to watch it now is so hard for me. I don't know.
No, you should give it a better chance than 5 minutes.
I'll try. And
maybe the thing is, it's short. It's like 10 episodes, so it's not a lot to watch. Man, I love that show.
Yeah, maybe I just wasn't in the right mindset, mind frame.
But the Star Wars thing, there was another thing about Star Wars that came out. So everyone knows that, maybe not everyone, but on the internet, Star Wars is at this point a controversial subject for people. It's like people, we were talking about going into things, liking them and disliking them before you've even seen them and stuff like that. Star Wars might be the quintessential thing in the world that people wrap their identity around, defining themselves by Star Wars. First of all, you shouldn't wrap your identity around a piece of fictional work. That's just kind of, you can love and hate things, that's fine, but you shouldn't be identified by being someone who loves Star Wars.
I don't second that.
You don't think so?
I think people should live their lives however they like to. It might not be. It might not
it's
be
not healthy, dude.
It might not be healthy, but I do a lot of unhealthy things.
It's not healthy to.
I encourage chaos.
Oh
dude.
God.
I encourage chaos.
All right, fine, whatever. I just want people to.
You want to be a Jedi? Be a Jedi. Fuck it.
Being a Jedi would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
But anyway, a scientific study came out about Star Wars and the online hate and trolling. Someone dove in and took a chunk of tweets directed at Rian Johnson, who directed the last Star Wars movie, The Last Jedi. And over a certain period of time, it was something like 900 something tweets. And he broke them down into separate categories of whether they were supportive, if they were talking trash about whatever. There's a couple different things. He basically broke them down into these different categories and tried to figure out who these people were and what their deal was. So he went into all their Twitter histories and he did like a deep dive. And this is a scientific study. It's like with a thesis statement and the scientific process. And
people way smarter than us.
Yeah. Now it has not been peer reviewed yet. It's only been published. It has not yet been peer reviewed. So if it's peer reviewed, the numbers could change and stuff. But as of this guy's findings, I have it written down here. It's called Weaponizing the Haters, The Last Jedi, and the Strategic Politicization of Pop Culture Through Social Media Manipulation. That's the name. Now you know it truly is a scientific paper because it has a long-ass title like that. You think Fantastic Beasts is bad? Try to watch this movie. But his final finding
Political tweets and where to find it.
His final finding is that 50.9% of those tweeting negatively about Star Wars was likely politically motivated or not even human. That blew my mind. That number. 50% of the tweets that you see that are negative about Star Wars.
So there's some robots out there.
There's a lot of bots, which there was recently a huge Twitter purge of bots. But there's also, he goes into it being Russian hackers, like trying to use Star Wars.
Putin doesn't like Star Wars?
He probably loves Star Wars, but he knows that he can get Americans to hate America by making it seem like they hate Star Wars. Right? It's nuts.
That's some 4D chess right there.
4D chess.
Yeah, this is a weird subject.
Fanboy culture is dangerous, dude. I'm a fanboy of a lot of things, but fanboy culture is dangerous.
But like I feel like we've talked about this before, as far as like the more of a fan you become of a certain thing, it's almost like, especially when there's new things that are coming out of that product, that you are quicker to absolutely hate that thing. You become more
like me with Detective Pikachu.
So you're not excited for that movie?
No,
not at all.
Nope.
Not.
I'm angry about it.
Why?
Because it's not an adventure movie about a trainer with a team of Pokemon trying to get gym badges.
Is it like a noir?
I don't know. It's a comedy, if anything. Ryan Reynolds is voicing Pikachu, and the dude from Get Out and Jurassic World is like a trainer trying to solve a mystery.
Is Pikachu going to be like talking?
Yes, he talks in the game. Pikachu speaks in that game.
Oh, so it's based on a game.
Yes, it's like an app. It's like a mobile game.
Okay.
They made a movie based off a mobile game.
Well, there's precedent for that to be really good.
Oh yeah, Angry Birds is awesome. Get out of here.
Did you see it?
Nope.
Dude, it could be like fucking Citizen
Shut
Kane.
your mouth. I saw the trailer. That's all I needed.
No, but back to this Last Jedi thing. Obviously I'm not a bot as far as I'm aware of.
Are you a replicant?
I was kind of meh about Last Jedi. I also had
I love The Last Jedi.
I
like The Last Jedi more than Force Awakens.
I like Force Awakens.
You really loved Force Awakens, I remember.
Yeah.
I'm so enamored with Kylo Ren, though. I think he's the best character in Star Wars.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't like Kylo Ren.
Oh, yeah, people hate him.
Mm-hmm.
People also hate Rey because she's a girl? All right.
I don't think it's just that.
I think that in the first
bogus
movie...
writing in Force Awakens that...
no, I think that the Mary Sue thing has grounds, certainly, in the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think it has grounds. It's not entirely true. There's a lot of the stuff you can pick out reasons why it's happening, but certain things make no sense.
There's a lot of...
The Jedi mind trick makes no sense. How she knows that is even a thing.
The fact that Rey is able to Jedi mind trick...
James Bond.
Yeah, Daniel Craig.
Daniel Craig. Even though you don't know it's Daniel Craig.
Yeah. The fact that she's able to do that without having any training whatsoever it's kind of bogus. Force Awakens is my favorite Star Wars thing that's come out recently.
Of the new Star Wars stuff?
Of the new Disney Star Wars movies. It is my favorite just because there's just a lot
I think The Last Jedi is my favorite.
I
think The Last Jedi is my favorite.
And I can understand that.
Now, but at the same time, so here's another thing. There's so much controversy around this movie. There's this whole thing with I can't think of her name. The actress who plays Rose in The Last Jedi had to delete her social media accounts because of all the hate that she got. That's so sad. And now we know half of it was probably robots.
Mm-hmm.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
It's just there's all this lashing out that people do. Listen, the original Star Wars trilogy still exists, and nothing about it has changed. If that's what you love, go watch it.
Mm-hmm.
If the new Star Wars stuff doesn't vibe with what you want to see, you don't have to go see it. It doesn't have to change. It shouldn't change your ideas of the original Star Wars movies.
So I've been playing devil's advocate a lot for this episode, but I'm going to do it again. It's not like all negative reviews and stuff like that are only coming from bots. And
no, obviously it's half. So the other half are real people.
Right, other half are real people, and I as someone that was a huge fan of The Dark Knight.
Mm-hmm.
And going to see The Dark
Knight Rises.
I do believe that sequels can ruin the movies before them.
When you go back and watch The Dark Knight, you view it differently because of The Dark Knight Rises.
Yes.
So interesting to me.
Yeah. So I believe that the premise of The Dark Knight was ultimately undermined and belittled by the sequel film Dark Knight Rises.
Details?
Okay, so...
Uh-oh. Break it down.
All right, so Christopher Nolan has a really common thesis in a lot of his films, right? It's this theme of justified dishonesty, right? It's people that it's the white lie, is the lie that is supposed to represent a bigger truth, a lie that is supposed to represent positivity and in order to restore hope or whatever, but it's lying with good intentions. Mm-hmm. So. Movies that have included that sort of theme, Inception, Insomnia, Memento, The Dark Knight. Those are four of probably his biggest movies. Interstellar. I'm not going to include that right now. I would have to think about it more. But at least those four movies, and those are four of like the most Christopher Nolan movies. Like
Prestige?
Prestige is another
sure.
one.
Prestige, for
so that's
sure.
5. But he has had that theme going throughout his movies. And in Dark Knight, the final scene. Sorry if I'm spoiling Dark Knight right now.
It's been long enough.
Right. But the final scene, you have Batman, who is literally taking the fall for Harvey Dent's actions, right? He is someone who is like saying that Gotham needs better than the truth.
Yep.
We need to restore hope within Gotham. And it's also, there's this montage that's showing Lucius Fox like destroying this equipment that's
spying on the city.
Could literally spy on everyone in the city using cell phone signals.
Yeah.
And you also have Alfred, who's burning the letter that was meant for Bruce Wayne, that was left behind by Rachel, and her sort of admitting her like her love for Batman, or is the opposite. She's saying like, I could never be with you.
Yeah, as long as you're Batman.
As long as you're Batman.
Yeah.
And he burns it, and he keeps that from Bruce Wayne, in order to restore Bruce Wayne's hope, because Rachel
died.
Spoiler alert. Rachel dies, and Bruce, he doesn't want to taint Bruce's memory of Rachel. Now, in Dark Knight Rises, what they do is you have Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, who's like, he's sort of this young, like
he's a cop.
He's a young cop, and you have him juxtaposed with Commissioner Gordon, and Commissioner Gordon has been living with this lie because he had to stand there and say that Harvey Dent was this ray of hope for Gotham, and that he died a hero,
and
which
Batman
he knows is fake, which he knows is a lie, and it eats away at him for years.
It's like 10 years later
until which I was sort of okay with.
Oh, it's fine,
but the main message, like the main, I would be okay with him struggling with that, him struggling with the lie, because he is such a decent person, and he might have different ideals than Batman, and he might not agree with that white lie, that theme of justified dishonesty. But it's not Commissioner Gordon's perspective that undermines that philosophy. It's the thesis of the third film. Commissioner Gordon is sort of accosted by Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character.
Yeah,
Joseph Gordon-Levitt
really mad at him.
is like, how could you do this? And they display Joseph Gordon-Levitt's idea
as proper, as right,
as the proper idea.
Yeah.
And
he shames Jim Gordon. Yeah,
he shames him, and
while Jim Gordon is symbolically, he's in like a place of weakness. He's in the hospital bed,
and it's not. There isn't a duality of ideas there. It is the reigning principle that like goes throughout that movie. Like when I go back and watch The Dark Knight, and I see all of these things happening, that like Batman sacrificing his public image for the better of Gotham, and basically lying to all of Gotham in order to restore their faith. I just think, well, doesn't that end up being the wrong thing to do? They're doing the wrong thing because the new era of Gotham ends up being Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character. Like he is voicing the truth of that movie.
So things go great in Gotham for 10 years.
Right.
So up to that point, he'd made the right decision.
But it is ultimately undermined by Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character.
Why? Because what I'm getting at is, so Bane shows up.
Mm-hmm.
This is what's happening to Gotham.
Bane is the another person that like is showing that like, oh, your people are lying to you. So like that 10 years of goodness, of like nothing going wrong, was just like 10 years of borrowed time. Like it's like, I don't know. It's like cheating on your girlfriend and saying that you never cheated on her, and then you're together for 10 years, and then she ends up finding out about it. It doesn't mean that like what you that you lying to her was the good thing. That like we got 10 years out of it. So maybe what I did was the right thing.
People that live there would probably disagree with you because it's a different idea. But inserting ourselves in the story, I mean, a Gothamite would disagree. Those 10 years are probably really important. That's 10 years of your life.
True, it's 10 years of your life, but so
I mean, you're speaking symbolically.
I'm talking
themes of the story.
I'm talking about Christopher Nolan's approach to that story was the literal 180.
All because Joseph Gordon-Levitt gets mad at Jim Gordon.
Not only Joseph Gordon-Levitt, but how he presents what Bane is doing. Right, the main conflict of what happens in Gotham is Bane presenting this information, presenting that Commissioner Gordon's a liar, and saying, like, these people that we're looking up to, like, you shouldn't. That being said, Dark Knight Rises, I've watched it since the first time that I watched it.
You hated it when you first saw it. You also were sick and had to see it in a different movie theater than the rest of us because your ticket got messed up. It was like a weird night.
True.
You were not, like we were talking about with Firefly, you weren't exactly under the best circumstances.
True. But I have seen it and come around a little bit. It's an interesting movie for sure. Certainly. And it's not a bad movie.
No, definitely not.
There is it's less grounded than The Dark Knight was.
Yeah, it gets a little more bananas. The plot is like it's raised way up. It's like Bane is doing so much. You're like, what is happening? Mm-hmm. It's a military state. It's crazy. But you don't think that maybe the point of doing all that is to show that there's a limit to the justifiable honesty? That there's a line that can be crossed?
Okay, so you think that Christopher Nolan is exposing that there is a limit to the justifiable dishonesty?
Perhaps.
Right.
I'm presenting the idea.
And that he is not saying that it is the antithesis that is correct.
That there's a limit to injustifiable honesty?
No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that from me watching Dark Knight Rises, I think that it is Christopher Nolan saying, like, what Batman and Commissioner Gordon did
is wrong
in the second movie was wrong.
Yes, because of the way Joseph Gordon reacts, and what happens with Bane.
One of the reasons why I love the Dark Knight's one of my favorite movies.
Both of it. Dark Knight would probably be top five for both of us.
And for a majority of people, it would be one of the greatest movies of all time.
The Joker, Heath Ledger's performance as the Joker, might be my favorite performance ever.
That and like a lot of people are like, oh, if you take away Heath Ledger's performance, then I would say that Batman Begins is still better. It's like Batman Begins is
also awesome.
Is also awesome, but I still think that Dark Knight is still very, very good.
Mm-hmm. Also, what point are you trying to make by saying if you take out an integral character to a story, that the story gets worse? No shit.
Well, I think what they mean to say is that, like, if you took out Heath Ledger and you put in Jake Gyllenhaal in that performance, you probably still
you'd kill it too, dog. That's my boy. Yo, because we're talking about Jake Gyllenhaal is my dream Batman. Just throwing that out there.
I'm glad you said Batman.
Yeah, he's my dream Batman.
If you took out Bat in that sentence, it would be kind of weird.
He's also my dream man.
He's my dream man. Yeah, I would be I'd be interested in different philosophies as far as like the approach to Dark Knight Rises.
I don't think that Christopher Nolan would go out of his way to say 5 of the themes of my movies have been wrong. Is the only reason I bring this up. I don't think he would purposefully.
That's why it seems so confusing. Go again. That's why when I watched Dark Knight Rises, I was like, "What the fuck is going on?"
You don't think that you might be like overreacting to something presented in the story and taking it that way because this is a through line of a lot of his movies? But maybe there's just an entirely different motive and theme he's trying to get across in the Dark Knight Rises, and you're taking it on the scale of what was in Dark Knight, which isn't unreasonable because it's a trilogy. So there should be through themes.
I would be very interested to see like Christopher Nolan like adapting different messages like over other films, right? But it's a little bit weird when you do it within a trilogy.
There should be through lines in a trilogy.
There should be, and I'm okay with you. evaluating that message within your own trilogy as well. But I don't feel like he's evaluating as much as undermining it.
Let me throw you another hypothetical devil's advocate thing. What if The Dark Knight presents Bruce's ideals as the justifiable honesty?
Okay.
And what if The Dark Knight Rises is Jim Gordon's that it's wrong?
Right.
That could be... One character could think it's wrong, and one character could think it's right.
Okay.
What if that's what's being presented?
I mean, that's an interesting take, but it's also a little bit strange because you have multiple characters believing that same ideology in the second one. You have Lucius Fox,
Alfred, Batman, Lucius. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. I don't know. It's an interesting concept.
But for sure, there are things that I like with Dark Knight Rises. I just wanted to bring that up as far as
wrapping it all back around to Star Wars
sequels influencing your previous ideas of movies.
Can I go back to what I said and how you shouldn't let the new Star Wars movies ruin the old Star Wars movies? That for you is very well thought out, researched. You're looking into the themes of the films.
At least I would hope so. I might be a dumbass.
Yeah, maybe you are, but but I think most people aren't doing that when they say the new Star Wars movies ruin the old Star Wars movies for me. I don't think most people are doing what you're doing. I think that a lot of it is what's the term people use? Neckbeards? Is that the term? Neckbeards.
Right.
Seeing women, seeing minorities in these positions, espousing progressive ideas, which is crazy that they get mad about, because guess what Star Wars was doing in the 70s or 80s or whenever it came out? It was progressive shit. Like, sci-fi has always been that.
Well, yeah, sci-fi, like, at least, like, the best sci-fi has always been, like, subtly dealing with issues, like societal issues.
Absolutely. Even Rick and Morty does it. Yeah. I just guessed that.
You just gave because you've never seen Rick and Morty.
I've seen 2 episodes, the first 2 episodes. Mm-hmm. But I know Dan Harmon. Yeah. And I know it's a sci-fi show. I can only assume Dan Harmon is digging into societal issues in a sci-fi show. Star Trek is probably the most well-known for it. But Star Trek was episodic, and they covered a lot more stuff than Star Wars.
You said Star Shrek.
Star Shrek? New movie idea.
Shrek has an astronaut.
Shrek in space. Now we're talking.
Does Donkey come along with him?
Obviously.
Can you make a astronaut suit for a donkey?
Of course. It's animated.
Huh? Dude, fucking join me in trying to come up with a
the arbitrary idea that you can make a suit shaped like a human, you can't make it shaped like a donkey? Of course you could.
I don't know.
The helmet would be shaped bigger. I would obviously have 4 legs. I mean, it's just a suit. It's just got to be in the shape of a donkey. Come on, man.
I feel like it's more complicated.
Nah. The real question is, can Puss in Boots fight with his sword in a spacesuit?
It'd be a lot tougher.
Those big gloves. Be really bogged down.
Mm-hmm.
Be hard to do. Just a thought. Listen, I'm tired of movies. I'm tired of them. We've been talking about movies forever. Mm-hmm. You need to shut up. Your opinions don't matter to me.
Okay.
I want to talk about Jimmy Butler.
All right.
That's what I want to do.
Okay.
Jimmy G. Buckets.
Are you trying to like channel Jimmy Butler's energy?
I am channeling Jimmy Butler right now.
So you're so fucking angry.
Jimmy G. Buckets. Do you know what the G stands for?
I think it stands for gets.
Because he gets buckets. All right. Anyone confused by this? We talked about Jimmy Butler in the first episode, I think. Episode 1, we talked about Jimmy Butler and the trade possibilities. And we are now in episode 3. This is a few weeks later. Mm-hmm. Jimmy Butler has still not been traded. Rumors have been flying.
Surprisingly enough, I felt like it was going to be quick.
Yeah, it seemed like it. Jimmy wanted out. It seemed like they were going to make it happen. Mm-hmm. He's still not been traded. He showed up for practice to the Timberwolves facility. He showed up apparently an hour late. They were scrimmaging. He walked onto that scrimmage floor. He grabbed the third stringers, and he said, "We're going to run this." And then proceeded to beat their starters' asses. Apparently, this is all what's been reported. Mm-hmm. while yelling at players, at coaches, at management. He specifically looked at their GM while he was in the middle of beating the starters with the third stringers and said, "You fucking need me. You can't win without me." He was defending Karl Anthony Towns in the post and was saying, "He can't do anything with me." And what did Karl Anthony Towns do? He passed out. He passed out of the post.
He didn't pass out.
No,
he
passed
the ball
of the post.
out of the post.
He said, "You're right, Jimmy. I can't." This is wild. This is like the biggest soap opera of the year so far in the NBA.
Jimmy Butler seems so fucking intense. Like that dude is just such a fucking hard. I've dealt with a lot of wrestling mentalities in my life because of
you grew up wrestling, yeah.
And he has a fucking wrestler's mentality that like fucking go.
Me against the world.
Me against the world. I'm going to fucking will myself, and that's what he did with his career, really. Like,
oh yeah.
For those that don't know, Jimmy Butler, like, what was he drafted?
30th. Last pick of the first round.
Last pick of the first round, which for those that don't really know NBA or the draft really well,
There's only 2 rounds.
There's only 2 rounds, and plus, like, once you get out of like the top 10, people aren't really expecting a lot out of those draft picks.
Yeah.
It's a lot more like if you get somebody that late in the draft who ends up becoming as good as Jimmy Butler is, that is a fucking diamond in the rough.
Yes.
Aladdin callback. But Jimmy Butler literally willed himself into that stardom. Like he is a fucking hard ass worker.
Yeah. And
he's someone who has incredible confidence in himself, and you can tell that dude grinds.
Yeah. Now, let's think about some of this. He asked to be apparently, so this is interesting too, this came out. He did this interview with Rachel Nichols on ESPN. Mm-hmm. He told her that...
all right, so should we include some of the people that don't know about basketball and this is the situation that he's in?
Wanting to be traded?
Okay, so Jimmy Butler, like
He's
we just said, very intense person, fucking all-star, incredible two-way
player, great defender,
great defender, and very intense. Mm-hmm. But he originally played with the Chicago Bulls and got traded from the Chicago Bulls.
When the Bulls started tanking,
mm-hmm.
they traded him away because he's the antithesis to tanking.
Right.
He's someone who will never, ever accept losing.
And he got traded to the Minnesota Timberwolves,
where his old coach
when he did go to the Minnesota Timberwolves, everybody was like, holy shit, watch out. Because the Minnesota Timberwolves are so loaded with young, talented players.
They have 2 number 1 picks on their team, Andrew Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns.
Right. And Karl Anthony Towns, who in last year's GM survey, mm-hmm. all of the GMs, the majority of GMs, said that Karl Anthony Towns is the young player that they would most likely want on their team if they were starting a franchise.
I thought that was weird last year, and now I stand by it, especially.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. It would be kind of weird if you did
the
other way
but
around.
I feel validated now. Mm-hmm. I was like, that doesn't seem right to me, but okay.
Definitely. But the problem is that like the Timberwolves are probably the most underperforming team of last year.
While Jimmy was healthy last season, they were the 3rd seed in the West.
Yes.
Which is the best you can expect to be if you're not the Warriors or the Rockets, because they're going to be 1 and 2.
Right.
So they were the best you could reasonably expect out of them. Then Jimmy got hurt, and they went, I want to say 10 and 14 without him.
Which is
with
strange.
2 elite talents on their team. 2 number 1 overall picks. And they're not rookies anymore. They're Andrew Wiggins is on his 2nd contract.
Mm-hmm. But they underperformed last year.
Certainly.
And it has come out that that Jimmy Butler is just
tired of him.
He's like diametrically opposed to the attitudes of that team.
Yeah. Because
Jimmy Butler is so willing to be great, and he has such a strong work ethic.
Yeah.
And his drive is there. And it seems like the rest of his team, especially Andrew Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns,
would rather play Fortnite.
Would rather eat candy and play Fortnite. So
this all comes because apparently, he revealed this in that interview. At the end of last season, 4 days after the season was over, he told Tibbs he wanted to be traded. It didn't get leaked until 2 weeks ago.
Right.
So that's the whole offseason that Tibbs didn't do anything about it. Because you know the one thing that Tibbs loves?
Tibbs is Tom
coach.
Thibodeau.
Tom Thibodeau is Jimmy Butler's the Timberwolves
who also coached him
also,
in Chicago.
Yeah, and is notorious for playing his starters too many minutes, being a super driven, competitive guy, very defensive. Him and Jimmy Butler mesh very well.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy loves Tibbs,
mm-hmm.
but he doesn't like the Timberwolves.
Right.
So he demanded the trade. It finally leaked a couple weeks ago. Rumors flew around about a few teams. He put his list out of teams, and then the Heat became a big player, and the Rockets became big players, but nothing's come of it. I don't know if you saw this, but apparently the Heat had a final offer on the table. They had exchanged medicals. They had agreed to the deal. These are like, when you exchange medicals, that basically means the deal's done.
Right.
You've agreed for Josh Richardson, Dion Waiters, and a first-round pick for Jimmy Butler.
Mm-hmm.
That was the deal.
Right.
When Tibbs called back, and Pat Riley, the Heat's president and GM, was like, all right, let's finalize this. Tibbs said, give me more picks. Pat Riley called him a motherfucker and hung up on him. He said, you motherfucker, and he hung up on him. Because Pat Riley had already budged. He didn't want to give up Josh Richardson. And he finally got to a point where he agreed to give up Josh Richardson for Jimmy Butler. Dion Waiters was cap filler.
And Tibbs got greedy.
But Tibbs loves Jimmy Butler. He doesn't want to trade Jimmy Butler.
Right.
Jimmy Butler wants out.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that's weird about the ranting at the practice, to me, he yells at the GM, you fucking need me. Mm-hmm. You can't win without me. I feel like everyone in that room was like, yeah, Jimmy, we know. That's why we're not trading you.
Yeah.
He's just
that was the number one comment. That was the number one comment on Reddit with that story. Was like it was like a theoretical quote from Tibbs that was like, yeah, we know we need you. That's why we're not trading you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is fascinating. So the NBA is the most player-driven league in sports. Players have the most power in anything. One thing they don't have the power over is where they play until they reach free agency. Jimmy Butler was extended by the Bulls. So he's under his Bulls contract. He accepted I think he had a no-trade clause, I'm pretty sure. Or he accepted the trade to the Timberwolves because he thought they would be competitive. And they were competitive when he was playing. Mm-hmm. But they don't have the mentality that he wants out of his teammates. I've seen some takes that have said that this is about money and that their offer to him is going to be a 4-year deal and not a 5-year deal that they could give him.
So he wants more money.
That's what some people are saying. It's about money. He makes less money than Andrew Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns, and that upsets him. That's when he says he doesn't feel valued by things like that.
Mm-hmm.
He's talking about how these two kids who don't give a shit are getting paid more money than me and are getting paid more money than what you're offering me. But you're already 30. It's a weird thing. You obviously Jimmy Butler values himself very highly and thinks I'm going to still be a great player when I'm 35 years old. He obviously thinks that. And obviously the organization thinks most players are no longer great when they turn 35. It's dangerous to give you, $30 million a year when you're 35 years old. Not everyone is LeBron James.
Yeah, exactly. And especially someone...
Jimmy has injury history.
He has injury history, and especially someone who plays balls to the wall like Jimmy does.
And will get overworked by his coach.
Yeah. Yeah.
He doesn't have people protecting him from himself in terms of his intensity.
Mm-hmm.
All of that being said, here I am 2 weeks later, and I still don't know if I want him on my favorite team, the Miami Heat. I want him, but I don't want to lose the young core, and I don't want to lose
because you really like Jay Rich.
I don't want to lose the camaraderie of the team.
Right.
Honestly, I saw that Jay Rich Dion first round pick deal, and I was like, I would have been sad to lose Jay Rich.
Mm-hmm. But it's a good price.
But it would have been a really good deal
because
he slides right into Jay Rich's spot.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the other deals that were like, if we gave up Justice and Bam and like Hassan or someone to fill cap or whatever, or Goran and Hassan and these different, it depletes the roster more. That one was like the least depleting you can do to the roster, and I was like, oh, that's a really good trade. And the danger is Jimmy Butler's 30 years old.
Jimmy Butler's 30 years old, and also, I mean, I'm not sure. Like the Heat. The Heat are vastly different than the Magic, obviously, because they never tank.
Nope. Pat Riley will never tank.
Pat Riley will never tank, and they are always competitive. But getting Jimmy Butler doesn't make them a contender in the East. either.
I would say the favorite for the 4 seed.
I would say, yeah.
Over the Pacers.
What about the Bucks?
Oh, true. I think our supporting cast is way better than the Bucks supporting cast. We're also way deeper than the Bucks. That's the one thing we have going for us. We're very deep.
I think we should wait until the Bucks have really good coaching.
Yeah, we'll see how Bud affects
if Budenholzer is as good as people say that he is, and he can get the talent out of those players that really should be there, because like the Bucks are like the greatest 2K team ever.
Yeah,
you know, like they're a team that on paper should be a lot better than they are. Yeah. Even though last year was kind of a weird place that they were in, because they were going against the Celtics, and nobody knew that the Celtics were that good even without Gordon Hayward and
Kyrie Irving.
But Celtics are also just that much better coach.
Danny Ainge is a wizard.
Danny Ainge and Brad Stevens, they are I would say that they are the most perfectly run franchise in the NBA.
Yeah, that are the Warriors.
So I know you don't like Colin Cowherd.
He's a hot take artist.
He's hot, but there's certain things that he say that are like pretty funny and kind of true.
Okay.
And he says that the Boston Celtics are like the 401k of the NBA.
Well, he's also a Boston homer.
But
I'm not saying you're wrong. It's just he loves Boston.
But he kind of says it like against them as well, right? So he says that like that he was comparing
low risk, low reward.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But he was comparing them to the Cavaliers, right? So like the Cavaliers fucking lucked out. They're like lottery winners, right? Like they lucked out and got the greatest player in the NBA. They have LeBron James. And the Celtics were this team that was, you know, checking all of the boxes. You know, they got a perfect coach. They stock up on draft picks. They get this young talent that projects really well into the future, and their staff is incredible. But they still can't get past LeBron. You know, like he's like they're the millionaire next door.
I have such a weird. So it's like a movement in sports fandom to grade on the curve of winning a championship. And that's the only acceptable outcome. That seems like nonsense to me.
And I agree. And I don't think that that's what this is. I'm just saying that despite everything that they do,
they can't get past LeBron.
They couldn't get past LeBron.
But LeBron is arguably the greatest player in the history of the sport.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
If you told me my team's going to come in second place for 7 years or whatever, to the best player ever, I'd be like, that's cool with me. We won a lot of games. That was a lot of fun to watch. I'd be cool with that as a fan.
I fucking want that as a Magic fan.
Yeah.
Dude. Like I'm sick of us not making it into the playoffs
exactly.
for fucking 7 years straight.
Like the memes about the Raptors are funny, and about how Kyle Lowry and DeMar are LeBron's kids. It's funny. But being a Raptors fan is better than it's ever been. Except maybe when Vince Carter was there. But they're better than
Raptors are kind of weird because it's just so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking to fucking be swept by LeBron and to just be...
But guess what?
I can understand the frustration. I'm not even a fucking Raptors fan.
90 games they played was great. Like, there's so much basketball. The idea of being like, if we play 110 games or whatever it is to get to the finals, and we don't win the finals, then the whole season wasn't even worth watching, is so bananas to me. It wasn't even, why even play the season? We know the Warriors are going to win. It's so stupid.
Well, especially because look what happened last year. The Warriors were...
They were a Chris Paul injury away from maybe not being in the finals.
Chris Paul, not even just a Chris Paul injury away. They were a quarter away from losing to the Rockets.
And 27 missed threes in a row. Woo, Rockets! You got some issues to work out in the playoffs. But yeah, I don't even know how we got to this, but we were talking about Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler fits on the Heat so well, and I would be excited to have him. I don't know. I'm super excited to see what happens. What if this like sparks a fire under the Timberwolves and they play great?
I thought about that too. Like about like if this like all this controversy like is Cat just gonna turn around and just be a fucking monster this year? Like especially like what if like Jimmy leaves
and then they play great?
And Cat's like, you know what, motherfucker?
You're wrong about me.
Guess what? Like all these motherfuckers that told me that like I was the greatest franchise player that they could draft.
I'm gonna prove them right.
I'm gonna prove them right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It could happen.
Yeah.
I don't see it happening with Jimmy leaving.
I don't see it happening.
I don't even
period.
know if I see them making the playoffs.
I don't see it happening. Period.
Yeah.
Whether Jimmy stays there or not.
I'm fascinated to see where it goes, but it's been a very fun ride. all the stuff that's come out.
It's compelling for sure.
Been crazy.
Yeah. So recently, since we've recorded our last episode, the NBA GM survey has come out. So like every
You
time
were just talking about that. With
yeah.
Kat,
So yeah. And this NBA GM survey is literally just a survey that's given out to like all 30 GMs, and they ask them specific questions every year, and they take a percentage of everyone's answers.
Yeah.
As far as that,
it's a survey.
Yeah.
Of GMs.
Yeah, it's a little bit. I don't need to explain that. I over-explain shit a lot.
It's fine.
I'm a chronic mansplainer. It's gross.
Oh man. Sorry,
but not just like
I'm a chronic man spreader, so together we're the worst man ever.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, there's like some interesting.
Hit me with them.
Things. Okay, so I'll leave that for the end.
Ooh,
Which team has the most promising young core?
Am I supposed to guess these?
I do already know it.
No.
Oh, okay. So you didn't really go through the.
I didn't look
GM
through it.
survey
No,
at all.
I
read all of it
Celtics.
I found it really.
That's my guess for the number
Ooh,
one.
Ooh, it's a good guess.
Or
dude.
Sixers.
Celtics or Sixers, right?
Yeah.
So 47% of NBA GMs said the Philadelphia 76ers have the most promising young core.
Which means Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, and Markelle Fultz.
Second is second is Boston.
I think that there's more of them and they're better.
At 33%. This is where things kind of get hairy, right? What would you say are there's two teams that are tied for third?
The Bucks, because of Giannis.
It's a good guess.
Might be in there.
It's a good guess.
Maybe someone says something like the Suns, because they're insane.
So
and Devin Booker is there.
Tied for third place is the Chicago Bulls.
Okay, that's
and the Phoenix Suns.
Okay. See, now here's who answered that? Who put that? The Celtics and the Sixers exist. And you can't vote for yourself, I think, on this survey. GMs cannot vote for their own team.
Right.
So if you're Danny Ainge, you vote for the Sixers. And if you're Elton Brand or whoever they surveyed when this was happening, you vote for the Celtics. You can't even argue the other answers.
True.
It's inarguable, but they are the two answers.
True. And I also don't know, like, is there like a first, second, third option with these GM surveys? I don't know. So.
Okay, that might be why it's like that then.
Yeah, right.
So it's not okay. That would make way more sense.
Yeah. So if that is the way that they actually do it, then I find Chicago so weird. I find it such a weird answer.
Well, Laurie, people love Laurie. Laurie's supposed to be super good.
Yeah.
Zach LaVine,
Jabari Parker. They
just got. Their basic the thing that makes Chicago at least explainable is that their whole team is a young core. I don't think they have a single person like over 26 years old.
But it's also like they're like the Suns makes like so much more sense to me.
You have Devin Booker
because you have Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton,
and you have
like
Devin
Josh
Booker,
Jackson
was a super high pick.
Yeah, and they also
have dudes that look like busts though. Dragon Bender looks like a bust.
Yeah, true. But they also have Mikal Bridges.
That's
who
true.
Is projected to be like a really good 3D player. I don't know. Like Phoenix Suns makes sense to me, but Chicago
not
doesn't.
Above the other two.
Chicago seems like closer to like the Brooklyn Nets to me.
They're way younger.
They're like, the Nets. But they are a collection of sort of these misfit young guys.
So, do you think you're underestimating Lowry?
I would say that if I were to take one person from the Bulls, I would take Lowry.
Yeah, obviously. He's for sure.
Yeah.
He's Kristaps-esque. Not as defensively good, but
he's also not as tall, right? I
don't
think he's as lengthy.
I don't know. But he's that style, that stretch big.
Porzingis is like 8 feet tall.
Yeah. Not 9 feet tall, I think. Yeah. All right, what's my next one?
All right. We actually talked about this.
Okay.
Before, which active player will make the best head coach someday?
LeBron or Rondo?
So, Rondo tied for second at 7%.
7?
At 7%. That was second place.
What percent does LeBron have?
4. LeBron isn't in the top 5. So
interesting.
like this is probably like the most like widespread. Like the only person that received over 7% was Chris Paul.
Oh, okay. Okay.
With 25%.
Because he's got that leader of men thing.
Mm-hmm.
Great leader.
And he's also so...
and he's cerebral.
Yeah, cerebral. He's got such a good basketball IQ. He has a lot of fucking experience. I thought that was really interesting.
Who else was on there besides Chris Paul and Rondo?
CJ McCollum.
Oh, that's cool.
CJ McCollum. Jameer Nelson. My magic boy.
Magic boy.
Magic boy.
Respect, GMs. They pulled that one out.
Jameer. Jameer Nelson.
Interesting. That's kind of cool. He already looks like a coach.
Here's another one which is even weirder, I would say, than Jameer Nelson. Garrett Temple.
Huh?
Yeah, Garrett Temple.
Who used to be on the Kings. I don't know where he is now.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Also receiving votes, Steven Adams.
The memes that would come from that.
I
don't know, mate.
Steven Adams would be a good coach.
Sure.
Yeah,
I don't think he would want to do it. I saw him talking about the toughness one that he won in this.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, what does that mean? I'm 50% tougher than I was last year.
It's
That's stupid, mate.
All right, here's one that I found kind of like, oh, shit. Damn.
Okay.
Who is the best coach in the NBA?
That is going to have Brad Stevens, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Kerr will probably be on there.
Yes.
Mike D'Antoni is on there.
Yes. Who's the other person?
It's 4. There's 4.
Yeah, there's 4.
I'm going to say a few names. I'm going to pick one. Eric Spoelstra, Mike Budenholzer. It's Quinn Snyder.
Dog, how you disrespecting the father?
The father?
The papa.
Oh, Pop. Oh, God. I feel like such an idiot.
Right, you should.
God, it's obviously Pop's
you
on
should,
there.
But what's weird about it is the fact that Brad Stevens was voted number 1.
Oh, yeah, people love Brad Stevens right now. Yeah.
47% of NBA GMs said that Brad Stevens was the best coach in the NBA.
I would like to publicly apologize to the future president, Greg Popovich.
Do you feel like he's earned that yet?
He hasn't won a title, so debatably no, but...
I feel like it's a little bit too early.
He's not the best.
He's obviously fucking incredible.
I think Pop is the best coach.
If I were to have any coach out of... Because Greg is just getting older.
He's going to retire soon.
Yeah, he's going to retire soon.
You would pick Brad Stevens.
I would pick Brad Stevens, absolutely.
How long, with this current roster build, does Brad Stevens have to win a title before he gets Dwayne Casey'd?
Ooh.
When does the window open and when does it close? Because the window doesn't really open until next year or the year after, when the Warriors are old,
right,
and maybe broken up.
I would say as soon as if KD ever does leave, that window opens.
Yep, I think
if KD leaves, that window opens.
Yep.
I would say that it closes.
Is it tied to Al Horford at all? Or is there enough young talent that it doesn't matter?
I would say that Al Horford could leave and they could still, especially with what fucking draft pick that they have next year.
Yep, we found that out this morning. They could, as long as the Kings don't get the number 1 pick, the Celtics get their draft pick, so they could get the number 2 pick in the draft.
A fucking contender in the NBA. Yep. That's some 2K shit, dog.
Yep. Danny Ainge is a wizard. He's very good at his job.
Okay, here. So we'll move on from the Celtics. Which rookie was the biggest steal at where he was selected in the draft?
Kevin Knox.
Kevin Knox is on there, but he's tied for 6th.
Oh wow!
At 7%.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Coming in at number 1, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Nailed it.
27% of NBA GMs say that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at number 11 was the biggest steal in the NBA draft.
Oh man, now people are going to expect him to be Donovan Mitchell. Dangerous.
Yeah, but his style is so much different. Like Donovan Mitchell's like so score heavy, and Shai is like so much more of a I could see his ceiling be better than Donovan Mitchell because because how long he is. Like he has more of a defensive upside.
Mm-hmm.
I mean they're both very.
Who else is on there?
They're both very athletic. So number 2. I'm going to butcher the fuck out of this name.
Mikhail?
CV Mikhailuk.
The dude on the Lakers?
Svi Mykhailiuk. Yeah, the dude on the Lakers that's supposed to be a crazy three-point shooter. And I've seen...
What'd they do? Draft him in the second round or something?
So they drafted him at 47.
Yeah, second round, yeah. Like halfway through the second round.
Midway second round. But 13% of NBA GMs say that was a steal.
Dang. Did anyone put Luka?
Luka
Yeah.
is tied for 6. So 7% of NBA GMs think that he was a steal at number 3.
Yeah.
But that's not even the most bizarre thing about this fucking survey, dog. About this question specifically.
Why?
Also receiving votes, DeAndre Ayton at number 1 overall was a steal in the draft.
What percent?
Explain. Well, he wasn't in the top 6, so they didn't show his percentage.
It was just like others receiving votes.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
Someone's an idiot in the NBA. There's an idiot as a GM.
I would like for someone to explain.
How can it be you? Okay. If you're drafted number 1 overall, you are expected to be a great player.
Right.
If you become a great player, you're not a steal. LeBron James isn't even a steal. He was the number 1 overall pick, who was projected to be potentially the best player ever. He is what he was expected to be.
Right.
He's not a steal in the draft. He's a steal of a human. He's a great human. He's a great basketball player.
Steal of a human?
Yeah, man.
I don't think anybody has ever said that
great
sentence
humanity
before.
out of him. He's a great dude.
Steal of a human.
That's not how steals work.
Yeah, it doesn't.
That's stupid.
So probably the most juiciest pick.
Okay.
Or the juiciest question out of this survey is what rule regarding play, draft/lottery, playoff format, etc. most needs to change. So what rule most needs
This is
to
interesting.
change?
Because this is very opinion based.
Yes.
For me personally, the one and done rule. Get it out of here.
Yeah. I would agree with you.
Put influx into the G League. Make it a real developmental league. Get the one and done rule out of here.
Yeah. Fuck that one and done rule.
Get it out.
Like, and then people are so vocal about how bullshit.
Do whatever you can to hurt the NCAA.
Oh my God. I would agree with you. But number 1, I found this kind of weird that so many GMs are sort of on this train. But 18% of NBA GMs say that playoff seeding should be revised.
Oh, okay. So 18% isn't very high. So this was very split.
Right.
Okay. So the playoff seeding thing is seed directly 1 to 16 instead of 1 through 8 in both conferences.
Wait, what?
Seed. You currently the East 1 through 8 makes the playoffs, and the West 1 through 8.
Yes.
Playoff reseeding would be the whole league 1 through 16.
That's the predominant thing that people.
The problem with it is logistics.
Yes, actually,
traveling and stuff like that with TV scheduling makes it very difficult. Also, if you're going to do that, what's even the point of having conferences?
Exactly.
Or what's the point of any of it?
Because divisions are already stupid.
Yeah, they already don't matter.
All
it affects is who you play more every season.
That nonsensical fucking logic applied to divisions is just going to extend your conferences at that point if you are going to make that playoff seeding 1 through 16.
Juxtapose that with football. Winning your division gets you into the playoffs.
Exactly.
You can go 6-10, but if you win like the Eagles might do this year, they might be trash and win their division and make the playoffs. In the NBA, that doesn't matter. I get why they want to do it, because the West has been, in recent history, so much better than the East, and there have been teams that have been debatably left out of the playoff picture, like the Nuggets last year, some other teams in other recent years, that maybe deserve to be in the playoffs because they were better than teams in the East. But I don't know. Maybe it could work. I don't really know.
All right, so number 2 that came in was draft lottery odds/system, which
they just did that.
I feel like it's in a constant state of revisal, right? Like
they just changed it so that the number 1, the worst team doesn't have as big a chance of the number 1 pick as they used to.
And
the idea of a lottery is weird in the first place. It's the only sport that does it.
Right. But the reason that they include a lottery is so that it prevents teams from tanking.
Well, you know what's funny about that is, guess which sport has the most rampant tanking? The NBA.
The NBA. Yeah.
The NFL is 1 to 32. The draft. Right. Worst team gets the first pick.
Right.
No one tanks in the NFL.
Right.
There's literally lives are on the line in football.
Mm-hmm.
Dudes aren't going out in the NFL like, oh yeah, I'll lose on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
No, dude, I'm gonna get my leg snapped in half.
Right.
Hockey is the same way. Dangerous. Baseball doesn't tank though. I don't ever hear anything about people in baseball tanking.
Mm-mm.
Maybe that's because I think maybe in baseball draft picks are even less valuable than basketball because guys are in developmental leagues for like 6 years before they're even in the pros.
True, and and also like individual talent matters so much more in NBA. Like
it's the opposite. It's the sport where the most value is placed on individual talent.
Right.
Except maybe having a like an Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, maybe.
Yeah, but
even then, I don't think because Aaron Rodgers can't play defense.
No, but like the Lakers are gonna go from a middling team to a maybe they're a solid playoff.
They're definitely a playoff team. They're probably going to be a contender.
But that doesn't say that they're a playoff team.
LeBron James is on their roster. They have a good shot at making the finals.
They also just fucking look good.
They've been fun to watch.
They've been fun to watch, and I just feel like LeBron is going to make everybody better.
Yeah, for sure. It's what he does. It's what he's always done.
Yeah.
What else is on there? Draft combine process? I don't know anything about that.
No. Draft medical info.
Yeah, sure. Change it. I don't care.
Schedule. Fewer games.
Ooh.
That came in at number 3. 11% of NBA GMs think that they need to have fewer games. So right now, the 82. NBA has 82 games in a season, which is a fuck ton.
It's a lot of games.
So it's 82 games in a regular season, not counting playoff games. Yeah. Not counting.
Well, I mean, you think about
preseason,
there's so many playoffs.
Not counting summer league.
LeBron has added something along the lines of like 4 or 5 seasons to his career because of how deep he's running the playoffs every year.
Right.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the weird thing about changing the total number of games, it's like how baseball will never do it. It's like how baseball won't change big rules because of it affects the records and everything. If you play less games every year, you can't reach the same points.
Right.
For
like point totals.
Statistically, you can't reach the same points that other players in the past reach. But I don't know. Did they raise it from something to 82 at some point? I don't know. I don't know enough about the history of the NBA.
I'm almost positive that it wasn't always 82.
What do you think is a good number? 60s?
Yeah.
Like 64 or whatever it would be? 66
maybe.
Or something like that?
Maybe.
I think that could be kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
I think the best thing about that would be it'd just be no back-to-backs. Players wouldn't have to play back-to-back nights.
No back-to-backs. And plus, like, I feel like your quality of games is going to be higher.
Certainly.
More competitive.
Yep. You won't have games where
will matter more.
And you won't have games where you're resting your older players as often.
Right.
To keep them fresh. Which is another thing they tried to cut back on. Don't they fine teams for doing that now?
Yes.
Pop doesn't care. He's going to rest them anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. That's an interesting one.
Juicy.
It's my turn to have to go to the bathroom, but you want to talk UFC when we get back?
Let's do it.
All right, word. And we back again.
Way back.
We back. UFC. This is a big one. This is. Ooh.
Okay, Khabib Nurmagomedov.
Well, do you want to talk?
Let's do the
fight card first, and then okay. Let's do fight card first.
Okay.
So there's a couple other fights that were pretty dope on the card. Yeah, it was a really good card.
Insane.
I wrote down a few of them here. Derek Lewis fought Volkov.
How fucking bizarre!
That was like the meme fight of the century.
So Derek Lewis was
number 2, right?
Surprisingly,
number 2 ranked fighter.
I didn't realize that he was that.
He's been knocking out everybody, dude.
But
in the 3rd round when he's exhausted.
So during the course of the fight, I was like, "Why is Derek Lewis this highly ranked?"
Volkov was destroying him
in the heavyweight division.
Yeah,
Volkov was, and he like neither of them
looked
very
great.
Impressive.
No, and Derek Lewis looked
the entire
exhausted.
time. The entire time, I was thinking, "Wow, the heavyweight division is kind of in shambles.
Yeah,
because you have Daniel Cormier, you have Stipe,
and you have Francis,
but even Francis.
Well, because of he didn't perform.
He has glaring holes in this game, and he's just not of the level of Stipe.
He's younger though, so
Cormier.
He got room to improve, but. But Derek Lewis is one of the most likable dudes in the UFC.
For sure.
Not only is he like hysterically funny with his super great Instagram, he was like on camera after the hurricanes hit Houston. He was driving around in his truck, like helping people, getting them out of deep water. He's just a good dude.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
But the way that he fights is... it made me wonder why he's so highly ranked. But then after the fight happened, I was like... I guess that's why. Because after losing this fight...
For 2.5 rounds.
For two and
3/4 rounds.
0.9 rounds. Because he had, 30 seconds left?
Something like that. Yeah, he got
left in the third round. Left in the third round. And he fucking knocks this guy out. And the fucking bar went nuts.
Oh, yeah. Everyone was super hype. He's so lovable.
Yeah.
People really like him.
But, that's... It's so insane that he was able to come back from that fight.
It's huge comeback. Mm-hmm. That was one of the biggest comebacks that I can remember ever since that tubby dude fought that muscular guy. And their names I can't remember. A super long time ago.
Duffy?
I think so. Yeah. I can't remember the muscular guy's name.
Mm-hmm.
But that was similar. A dude in the last round who was just exhausted and was getting beat the whole fight just knocks him out. That's the beauty. To me, it's one of the beautiful things about the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
It's like how it's a different context of competition, but it's like when Anderson submitted Chael Sonnen. He was losing for 4.5 rounds.
Yeah.
He was getting wrestled and pinned down for 4.5 rounds. Mm-hmm. This prolific striker, this untouchable fighter, and then he submitted Chael Sonnen and won the fight.
Yeah, that one was also compelling for such different reasons because
Chael was
Chael was the underdog.
Chael's the underdog, and Chael's one of the best shit talkers ever in the UFC. He was going after his country. He was saying horrible things about Brazil as a whole.
What word did he call him? A charlatan?
Yeah. Chael's great. Chael's great on the mic.
Yeah.
But yeah, that fight was awesome. And because of that fight, we have a heavyweight title fight coming up. Did you hear about this? At UFC 230, the card that has been unable to find a headliner, the one that we talked about, Dustin Poirier and Nate Diaz trying to headline themselves, and then they were going to have Valentina headlining against someone we've never heard of, is now being headlined by Derek Lewis fighting Daniel Cormier for the heavyweight belt. A month after he fought this fight. You think he's going to fix his cardio in a month? Because I don't.
I really like Derek Lewis.
Yeah.
I like him.
I like him a lot.
Do you think he has any shot in beating Daniel Cormier?
He's got this. And that's his only
I thought
shot.
you were saying zero.
No,
this
is his only shot. Is if this lands.
I think he has zero chance.
He's one of those people where if it lands, he's got a shot.
Yeah,
DC's old.
Okay.
DC's been knocked out in the past year.
Okay. It is MMA.
Year and a half. It's MMA. There's always a shot. There's always a shot.
There's always a shot. You never know.
It's
going to
be fun, I think. It's a fun fight. The personalities, it's so opposite of Conor Khabib that I love it.
Okay, so
it's so wholesome and endearing.
I don't know if you saw that Instagram post. I think Ariel Helwani either commented on an already existing Instagram post by the UFC or he actually put it on Instagram himself. But I think it was the former. But Ariel Helwani put a comment on a video of Derek Lewis and Daniel Cormier interacting.
Their feud.
They're interacting with each other at a press conference, and Daniel Cormier said something along the lines
Derek's got some kind of problem with me, man.
Yeah.
Backstage, you saying you want to knock me out, man. I don't know what's your deal, Derek.
Yeah, and then I'll be the reporter. He's like, Derek, what do you have against Daniel Cormier?
Man, he was talking shit about Popeye's chicken on that commercial.
But they were both sitting right next to each other.
Yeah, and they were having
smiling,
fun. They were having fun.
And
it was completely.
It was
wholesome.
so wholesome. Yeah,
it's
exactly.
So wholesome.
But Ariel Helwani,
the GOAT UFC reporter,
right.
MMA reporter, he's the best in the business.
Commented, "This is exactly what the UFC needs."
It's true. It's the complete opposite of the vitriol and hatred that was Conor Khabib.
Right.
It's just wholesome and fun. And it's heavyweight, so you know something crazy is going to happen.
Yeah, but both of them are so lovable.
Yeah.
And so
which props to DC in general for turning his whole he used to be hated on. because of the Jon Jones rivalry, and everyone was on Jon's side. Everyone used to hate Daniel Cormier. Now it's true. Daniel Cormier is a really just likable guy.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just like kind of like leaned into
it's like
his own personality.
If your dad was a UFC fighter, it'd be Daniel Cormier.
Yeah.
And he does a great job calling fights now, so I think that's helped him a lot. But yeah, I'm excited for that. I am kind of bummed that Nate and Dustin aren't on that card anymore because Dustin got hurt.
Right.
That was supposed to be the co-headline.
Dustin Poirier.
Yeah.
And Nate Diaz. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, and then they did.
Yeah, let's keep talking about the rest of the Conor Khabib.
So the next one I put on was the co-main event. Tony Ferguson versus Anthony Pettis. This fight,
it was
if it didn't get
sad.
stopped by the doctors, or
Yes.
I mean, I'm sorry, by Anthony's corner because he broke his hand, would have been a contender for fight of the year. I would say currently now, round 2 of this fight might win round of the year.
Right.
It was such a great fight.
I mean, like there was so many elements there that were so fucking compelling because you have Tony Ferguson, who
5 months ago had reconstructive knee surgery.
Yeah, he still has a fucking huge ass scar in his knee.
I had reconstructive knee surgery. That's insane. To 5 months later be fighting.
Right.
Not only fighting, being incredible at it, throwing kicks without abandon.
Right.
Movement.
Against top
cardio,
level competition.
Against a great fighter, an ex-champion.
Right.
And Anthony Pettis, who looked great.
Yeah. But you have that like that sort of comeback story with Tony Ferguson, as well as just Anthony Pettis is one of the most.
He's so exciting to watch. What was that crazy?
He does like capoeira and
his
like
flippy kicks. He's like doing handstand kicks. I don't know is that capoeira? I don't know.
Yeah, capoeira is like dance fighting.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's what he's doing out there. It's nuts. Oh, it's so fun.
So you have that, and they were just going back and forth. These guys were going at each other, and the fact that like it had to end the way that it did
because of a broken hand.
It was
Props
really
though to his corner for looking out for him, because a lot of fighters will go back. They'll keep fighting. That's what fighters do.
Yeah.
And who was it? Raquel Pennington's corner, who got a lot of flack for letting her keep fighting against Amanda, when Amanda was just beating the shit out of her, and she clearly just didn't stand a chance, and it was just punishment for punishment's sake at that point. At a certain point, I think a corner needs to not be the one driven by the adrenaline of the fight and needs to be the logical thinker and needs to protect the fighter from themselves.
Right.
And I think they did that for Pettis, which I think is cool. But yeah, that was the best fight of the night for sure, and potentially a fight of the year candidate. Were there any other ones besides Conor Khabib that interested you or you wanted to talk about?
No, I said we dive into it, dude. So the fight itself.
So Conor Khabib was a smothering. Khabib basically...
Or a smooshing.
A smashing, as Khabib may say. He basically controlled every aspect of the fight. For 4th round it ended, right? Rear naked choke, 4th round?
So not rear naked choke, is a neck crank.
Neck crank, okay.
I feel like... Well, like an MMA nerd, but this is saying that. But
is that why he was able to get it with his arm over the chin?
Yes.
Okay, that's why I was confused. I was like, I think I said in the moment he doesn't have it.
So
because Conor's chin was still there.
It is a little bit more of a high level technique, even though it is kind of more brutish than a rear naked choke.
Anyone can, I can get a rear naked choke.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyone
like,
can.
You can sink it in, and like you may not know the exact.
Arm under the chin squeeze. It's like pretty basic.
It's pretty basic, but there's like a vast.
There's a lot of ways to do it.
Levels of knowledge as far as like executing it, and especially setting it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, a neck crank is just a little bit different, and it's. You only see certain people hitting it. You can't just be a brute when you hit it. Like it does take a lot of technique in the way that you're torquing the neck. The Damian Maia's hit it before.
He's
maybe
the
top
GOAT jiu-jitsu guy, and I mean besides the Gracies, ever.
Yeah, but he was getting smashed.
Oh yeah,
throughout the entire thing.
The 3rd round was the only round where they stand and bang, which it was kind of like, Khabib, what are you doing? Why are you doing this?
The entire time, Khabib is standing there right in front of Conor, trading with him.
Yeah, which is dangerous. He did that against Al Iaquinta,
goading him into a brawl.
Yeah,
which is just it
Well, despite the fact that Conor's a stand-up fighter, he's not a brawler. Connor's a precision fighter.
Yeah, he's very technical.
Yeah. And he's a knockout artist, but he's not a brawler.
True. Timing beats power, precision beats speed.
Actually, precision beats power and timing beats speed.
Whatever.
But, go ahead and butcher it.
Yeah, I did.
Just like Khabib did to him. Butchered.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned this to you the other day. The perception of I think I've come around on a little bit. The perception that Khabib dominated Conor and Conor didn't stand a chance. I didn't feel that during the fight, that Conor didn't stand a chance, especially in the third round. On the scorecards, Conor won the third round.
I'm on the same page with you there.
Conor won the third round. Like, going into the fourth round, it was anybody's fight still. And then Khabib took him down again and choked him out. The perception that Khabib dominated him kind of bothered me a little bit. Because I never felt like Conor didn't stand a chance of getting the knockout.
I also feel like that you can still dominate a fight.
Yeah, but that's
while the other person still has.
I've come around on it. Because yes, for 3 of the 4 rounds that were fought, Khabib dominated the action.
Yes,
that is true. I just never. I feel like if you read that in a headline, it implies that Conor never stood a chance of getting the knockout or anything, and I don't think that's true.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of...
it's semantics.
Yeah, exactly. It's a weird semantical argument. But
Khabib, for the most part, was dominant and unstoppable. He's a monster.
Mm-hmm.
But that will
27-0 now.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and he may not be allowed to fight because of what happened afterwards.
Let's just jump into the controversy.
Yeah.
Probably
the build up to the fight is very important to the context.
Yes.
Of this. Conor, as he always does for his fights, was very vocal, talked a lot of trash. And as he does, he's the best of all time in the UFC at talking trash, specifically targeted for his opponent. Mm-hmm. He's not one of those dudes that just goes, "Oh, I'm going to knock your ass out, bro." He finds things...
It's going to be a war.
He finds things to get under your skin because he wants what he says to you before the fight to be a part of the fight. Yeah. He wants you thinking about that in the ring. That's how he got Jose Aldo. Mm-hmm. He got to Jose Aldo, he got in his head, and he made Jose Aldo overcommit, and he knocked him out in 13 seconds.
Which I find incredibly compelling and
it's
so
amazing.
Fascinating.
Yeah, me too.
But there's a line, right?
Sure.
And he crossed that line in April.
Oh, you're talking about the dolly. That's different than trash talking, but he did cross a line.
But
this is separate from...
He's still doing
this comes from a different place, though.
Okay.
So the trash talking, he talked about Russia. He talked about terrorism, being a Russian. He talked about his family being like farmers or something. He did the normal Conor trash talking.
Okay.
The dolly came from a completely separate thing. The dolly came because a member of Khabib's team did something to a member of Conor's team. Mm-hmm. Both are fighters. Or Khabib did something to a member of Conor's team. And Conor hopped on a plane and flew to New York and then threw a dolly through a bus. Conor went off the rails.
His entire
team came. But Conor went off the rails.
A UFC media event.
Yeah. Started throwing water bottles around.
And not only attacked a bus that just Khabib was in, but
multiple fighters. All the fighters, they had to cancel a bunch of those fights. Michael Chiesa couldn't fight.
Exactly.
Rose Namajunas apparently still doesn't leave her house because she's like scarred from the incident. That's a UFC champion.
Now, how much do you believe that is completely... Do you think that he solely did that to defend his teammates' honor?
I think that's why he came, and then I think he went over the top. Now, a lot of people will argue with you. I hate being this kind of person that thinks everything's a setup. It's not fun to me. If it is a setup, I don't want to know. I want the curtain drawn.
The problem with like having that everything's a setup, that
nothing's ever compelling.
Well, okay, so that idea that like everything's a conspiracy is like doesn't take into account that like people just aren't that in sync all of the time.
Yeah,
there's so many like working within a system. I know that working within the Navy, there's so many different fucking moving parts in this huge system, and just like the UFC, you have this huge system of different moving parts and different people with different
personalities,
agendas and personalities, right? Having the UFC plan like Conor throwing a dolly through a window on a bus
and hurting their own fighters
is
why would they
ridiculous.
Set that up?
I
it's
find
crazy.
that a little bit ridiculous.
Do I think that event is what made Khabib so angry? I don't.
Okay.
I don't think that's what
we'll get to
Conor
that.
for.
We'll get to that. But I also believe that Conor isn't a person that is going to see things in a vacuum. I don't think that he compartmentalized that move. That was a move for him.
Oh, certainly.
He wasn't just defending his teammate's honor. He was also he's
setting
he's
up a Khabib fight. Everything that dude's doing.
No, there is a setup there. He is setting
himself. That's himself, though. That's different than the UFC setting it up.
Exactly.
That's self-promotion.
Self-promotion. It's marketing.
Yeah, certainly.
He's setting up bad blood for this Khabib fight.
And it's sad because in any other sport, it's horrible nonetheless. But in UFC specifically, it's a violent sport, and violence excites people. So doing that, all it did was make people more excited. And he went through the legal process. He did he was tried. He was given a punishment. In terms of legality, he's in the clear. He's fine. Everyone that was in the incident is okay at this point, except maybe Rose, apparently, mentally. And that's very sad, but I hope that she can, get through that and everything. But in terms of legality, he's in the clear. Let's fight. Set up the next fight. 2-year layoff. That's another thing. He had a 2-year layoff. And then he fought Khabib. That's not somebody you want to fight with a little rust on you, because he'll knock the rust off real quick with his fists. That's dangerous. But I think what made Khabib pop off after the fight is not that incident.
So what happened after the fight?
After the fight,
Khabib wins.
Khabib jumped out of the octagon.
As he's celebrating, people are coming into the octagon, normal security people, stuff like that.
All normal procedures.
Yes.
Khabib jumps on the fence, which people do a lot. They jump on the fence and oh my God. They celebrate.
Right.
He jumped over the fence and jumped into the crowd.
And right before that, he was sort of like pointing to someone.
Well, all right. Let's try to include as much of the rumors that we've heard as possible, because the whole story hasn't come out. They're doing an investigation as we speak. This might come out over the next week or so. Khabib threw his mouthpiece at Conor right after the fight ended. After they tried to, Herb pulled him off Conor. He tried to keep choking him. Herb pulled him off. He threw his mouthpiece. He spat at Conor and threw his mouthpiece into the crowd.
Right.
Apparently, he threw the mouthpiece in the direction of Conor's team. He then leapt the fence and jumped into the crowd and started attacking members of Conor's team, specifically Dylan Dennis, I think his name is, his jiu-jitsu coach.
Right.
Who Khabib has said some racial slurs to him about being Muslim, or I guess it's religious slurs about being Muslim,
right?
Which is horrible. But the fight is over. What you do from now on in terms of violence is a legal issue.
Yeah.
In terms of you can't come back to America legal issue. You are not an American citizen. Right. What you do once that fight ends affects your career in terms of being allowed to even do it.
Right.
So everything is at a heightened level now. So Khabib jumps into the crowd. There's that really iconic picture of him jumping. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
With the feet up. It looks like somebody made like a Jordan kick. Yeah. It's really cool scene, but bad outcome. So he jumped in and started fighting the crowd. People in the crowd. And obviously security started going crazy trying to break this all up. Then a member of Khabib's team also tries to jump the fence, and Conor does something to stop him or attack him as well. This whole fight breaks out. Conor throws a punch at another member of Khabib's team trying to get out into the crowd. Then that dude gets subdued. Conor's standing there. Conor's exhausted. Conor just got put through the ringer for 20 minutes. Two dudes jump the fence of Khabib's team, and they start unloading on body shots, punching Conor unprovoked. All of it's really bad. Three guys got arrested from Khabib's team after the fight by Las Vegas police, and Conor refused to press charges on them, and they were released.
Which is really, really interesting. And
Conor didn't.
My
press
instant
charges?
reaction is wow, Conor, that's a class act.
Yeah. For the most part, Conor has come out looking the better in this, except there's a kind of hard to see video that it seems like he might have thrown a punch at the dude jumping the fence first. It's hard to tell.
Right.
It seems like he may have been the first to do that, but at that point, the fight in the stands had already started. They have both since been suspended indefinitely, Conor and Khabib. Khabib hasn't even been paid yet, his purse. they are doing a hearing on, I want to say the 26th or something like that, October 26th, to determine their futures. There is a potential chance that Khabib gets his title stripped, that either of them are not allowed to fight anymore or suspended for a year or something like that. These are all things that are possible. And horrible. After, I mean, it was a great fight in terms of, like, it was competitive and it was dominant on one side for the most part, but it was entertaining. Fuck all of you who boo when you see wrestling. That's garbage.
Watch kickboxing. There was one guy in the Buffalo Wild Wings where we were watching the fight that just literally every time that Khabib would take down Conor, boo.
Yeah, it's so stupid.
Boring.
You're watching mixed martial arts.
Yeah, exactly. It's a facet of mixed martial arts.
Go watch boxing or go watch kickboxing. Go find a sport that you actually feel like watching.
Yeah.
Because what Khabib's doing is insanely high level.
Mm-hmm.
Insane. He's such a high level wrestler. It's not even funny.
Yeah. Grappling is just not as well respected as striking.
It's not as explosive and entertaining to a casual fan. It's just not. It's true.
Yeah.
I get that. But you're watching a sport where it's part of the sport.
Right.
I'm on the side of trying to find a way to fix the rules where getting a takedown and just laying on someone doesn't earn you a win. Mm-hmm. But Khabib doesn't do that.
No,
Khabib advances, gets dominant position, and then smashes you.
Right, exactly. Like, and he's not
he finishes dudes.
Like he's not like Josh Koscheck basically won the Ultimate Fighter, like just doing that.
Yeah,
like,
laying on
he
people.
was a wrestler and just not throwing any punches, and Dana White would hates it.
Dana White hates it because he knows what the fans want to see.
Khabib does not do that.
No, certainly not.
But like he is like he's almost like what Chael Sonnen wants to be.
Yeah.
You know, like the just an awesome ground and pound, but he just doesn't get caught like Chael does.
Yeah.
It's super fun to watch, and I love watching Khabib.
Yeah, because he's
like,
a maestro at what he does.
He's a maestro at what he does. Like I love just like I think Khabib is just as much of a character as Conor is. You know, like he is obviously not the businessman that Conor is.
He is a character.
He's not as vocal.
Yeah,
but his personality is still so Khabib. You know,
yeah,
like
he's very much himself.
Yeah,
dry humor.
Yeah,
very no nonsense. Did you see the video of the audio? They caught audio of him talking to Conor while he beat him up.
Oh, really?
He said, "We're talking now. We're talking now," as he beat him up.
Well, like in the pre-fight press conference, the entire time, Conor he brought his own whiskey.
To
the press conference.
Conor is all about the money,
and which is
normally I don't like that, but Conor, it's a little different. I don't know what it is about him.
I like Conor. He just has that X factor.
I love him. Yeah.
But Khabib was like. He was like, once they get you in the ring, what do you think you're going to do?
You think whiskey going to help you?
You think whiskey help you? You are chicken.
So, what are your like overall thoughts? So, a big thing is, does this help or hurt the UFC? That's what you see on sports shows a lot this past week. I think it helps, honestly.
Yeah, in a sad way.
In a sad way, it helps.
Because they're going to get more play out of it. Mm-hmm. You know, like if they do a Conor Khabib 2, they're going to get more views.
They're going to show this in every promo reel.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with you. It's sad, but it's going to help. Mm-hmm. And if anything, it's going to revitalize just common interest in the sport for a brief period. You might get a bunch of viewers on the DC card just because they want to see what happens next.
Right.
We don't know what's going to happen with them. There's a literal chance that Khabib gets his title stripped and isn't allowed to fight for X amount of time. Dana White said afterward that this is a literal assault, as if you walked up to someone on the street and beat them up.
And
Khabib could get his visa pulled to not be allowed to work in the United States anymore, not allowed back to fight.
There is also precedent for Khabib getting kicked out of the UFC. Because this is something that Paul Daly did. Mm-hmm.
But he did it to his opponent.
So Paul Daly didn't jump into the crowd and fight the crowd. Paul Daly fought his opponent after the fight was done. Mm-hmm. Everybody was wrapped up. He, bringing it back to Josh Koscheck, tried to assault Josh Koscheck after the fight was done. And Paul Daly never fought in the UFC again.
Now, what is the difference here? Paul Daly ain't no Khabib.
That's true.
Paul Daly was not an undefeated champion.
That's true. And there's also precedent in the UFC that stars sort of get differential treatment.
Oh yeah. Connor.
John Jones.
John Jones.
John Jones.
It's consistent.
It's consistently inconsistent.
Consistent with stars, I mean.
Yes.
Yeah. It's on all levels of UFC too. It's if you are that upper tier fighter, if you're a champion or almost a champion, not only do you get preferential treatment, but you get all the money.
Mm-hmm.
These lower end guys don't get anything.
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of people, people saw Brendan Schaub's thing about paying for Ray Borg's child's health care because Ray Borg can't afford it. He's a professional athlete who can't afford to pay for his son's medical bills because that's how the UFC works. Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
It's sad.
It's really sad.
Mm-hmm. You got anything else about UFC?
We have another announcement fight. Not Conor Khabib, but another fight announced.
Oh, what's up, Don?
John Jones Gus 2 is on. The card right before New Year's.
John Jones, please stop. Do it. Put that boy in a bubble.
Yeah. Wrap him up in bubble wrap. Only feed him water.
Oh, my God.
He apparently has been kind of paranoid about where he goes and what he puts in his body since the whole steroid thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's been basically proven he didn't purposely cheat in terms of the steroids. The coke and all that's real. That shit's real, and he'll talk about it. The steroid thing though what was the example they used? They said it was like putting a drop of water in a pool or something like that, and that's the amount.
Trace element,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't an amount that could help him in the span because they tested him so consistently, like every couple days. It wasn't an amount that even getting it out of your system could have helped you competitively. It was just very strange, and a bummer overall because it took out that awesome. He head kicked DC and got the finish and kind of ruined that whole return. But everything he says seems, like every time. Everything he says seems like he's back on track. But Jones Gustafsson 1 was one of the best fights ever, so it'll be hype.
Yeah, so I mean that's all I'm hoping for. I just want to see John Jones fight again.
We're gonna see John Jones fight once every 2 years, and it's gonna be a great fight. Yeah, I want to see him fight, and I hope he keeps being able to fight. Now, whether or not DC will fight him again, we'll see. Because the timing of it, DC at the beginning of December, John Jones at the end of December, they meet up again in like March, April. It could happen. It could happen.
All right, Don.
I think that's everything. There was a lot to go over.
Oh, we're going on 3 hours now.
Yeah, we're killing it.
Ooh.
Well, I mean, we took the hour that we didn't have in the last episode, we put it on this episode.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, we had a short one last week. But yeah, I think that's. Unless you got something else,
no,
I think we can. Do some shout outs. You go, do your shout out.
All right. So my shout out for this week. We're gonna be doing. I feel like we do a lot of rap shout outs, but I don't care.
I mean, it's what we mostly listen to.
Yeah. So my shout out for this week is a fella by the name of Isaiah Rashad. For those of you that don't know who Isaiah Rashad is, you're going to. He's an incredible rap artist. He's on Top Dog Entertainment, which is Kendrick Lamar's label. Mm-hmm. Also on that label, SZA, Schoolboy Q,
they're loaded.
Absol. They're incredibly talented guys. And Isaiah Rashad, out of all those people, is probably my second favorite.
Behind Kendrick?
Behind Kendrick.
Mm-hmm.
And mostly for this album, The Sun's Tirade. It is his second album to be released on the TDE label, and it's incredible. He is someone I really dig his flow. He's someone who's musically just very talented. He's not he is the quintessential example of when people bring up mumble rappers.
Yeah, we were talking about this the other day.
Right. When people bring up mumble rappers and they say that, oh, because I can't hear people's words when they talk, like while they rap. Therefore, their music is bad. And I would say that Isaiah Rashad is like the antithesis of that, because you don't really understand everything that he's saying, but you can tell that the music is great. Yeah, I recommend, if you're going to listen to one song off of that album, I would recommend Free Lunch. You're going to listen to.
I love Free Lunch.
But as far as features on that album, you got Sir, Kendrick Lamar, SZA, and as well as J-Rock. J-Rock is also featured on that album. Yeah. But he has a really cool song in there called "What's Wrong" with Kendrick Lamar. Fucking sick ass song. But yeah, that's my shout out for this.
Shout out Isaiah Rashad, The Sun's Tirade.
The Sun's Tirade.
It's a super cool name for an album.
And yeah, look up the album artwork for that album too. It's really freaking cool.
Nice. All right, my shout out has props. I have examples.
Props. All right, Carrot Top, let's go.
Yeah. All right. Cool. My shout out is an artist. His name is Danny Haas. I met Danny a few times in Orlando. When I lived in Orlando for a few years, the comic shop that I used to go to, Epic Comics, shout out Epic Comics, great comic shop in Orlando. Danny was there all the time. He worked the desk sometimes and he was hanging out. He would sell his art there. I have a couple of his posters that I bought. So he has a huge series that are like this. The Half and Half look. This is Batman Beyond with Terry. He has a whole series of just tons of characters like this with that half and half look. Very cool. And also probably like my favorite, most niche thing I own. Donald Glover as Spider-Man. Oh yeah. I love this thing. It's so cool. So he has other styles of art that he does. He's super dope. He's got a website. I think it's The Art of Danny. I'm pretty sure is what it's called.
The Art of Danny.
Yeah.
And
he's on Facebook for sure.
Is that where you got those posters?
No, I got those in person.
Oh, damn,
he was selling them at Free Comic Book Day a few years ago, and I just got them from his booth, 2 for $20.
Danny Haas.
Yeah, Haas.
AAS.
Yeah, but that's my shout out, Danny Haas.
Nice.
Yeah. Let's do our. Let's look at this while I get better at getting us out of episodes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, hit us up on social media. Hit up the show's social media, for sure. Facebook, Instagram, The Chris and Kyle Show, Twitter at tcaks pod. Go over there, vote on our poll. It's pinned. It's the top post, and I pinned it. You're going to send us to the movies for this week's spoiler episode. When we are recording this, we don't know what the outcome is of the poll, but you have until the end of today that it is released to get your votes in.
Yes.
That's how.
Well, it will be
in terms of
so
release
once
schedule.
this is released, it will be the next week's spoiler episode, though.
Yeah.
Because this week's spoiler episode
is The Predator.
The Predator.
The Predator.
Dog, I'm gonna go ahead and break this illusion right now because we already recorded for The Predator.
Yeah, we recorded that.
Okay,
earlier.
and I'm gonna. There's a redaction I need to make.
Oh, did you mess up?
Oh no, I didn't mess up. But like, I realized how bizarre and stupid this comment was that I make in the Predator episode.
What'd you say?
You bring up child actors, dog.
Yeah.
And you said that
Jacob Tremblay.
Jacob Tremblay might be the greatest child actor of all time. And I was like, whoa, slow down.
You said Macaulay Culkin.
And I said, there's a lot of child actors out there, which I stand by. And then you were like, who do you think is better than him?
You pretty quickly went there.
And I immediately went to Macaulay Culkin. Why?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I tried to be nice about it when you did it.
Literally 4 seconds after we wrapped that episode, I was like, did I just say Macaulay Culkin is the best child actor?
I even tried to to push back and be like, you think he's better than Jacob Tremblay? And you were like, I don't know, man. He might be better than Jacob Tremblay.
And I doubled down. I was like, hey, man, Home Alone's great. And you were like, yeah, but it's nothing of like the filmic quality of Room. And I was like, oh, I don't know, sir.
All right, so yeah, now you know going into it.
Tune in to our Predator spoiler episode to hear my whackness.
Yeah, hear Chris be an idiot about child actors. Yeah, hit Chris up on Instagram at Chris Michael Stott, on his website at chrismichaelstott.com. Find me on Twitter, Instagram, Davinwell25.
Also, guys, if you have any feedback, any ideas, shit that you want to listen to, any suggestions, we're trying to make this as interactive as possible with our audience as possible. So please hit us up, message us on Facebook, comment on YouTube.
At me, bro.
Whatever you can do to
don't
contact
at me.
us. Don't at you?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Yeah. Also, I want to announce this as well. Pretty soon we're going to be releasing guest episodes as well.
Yes.
So if you or anyone you know lives around the Southern California area, and we're looking for anyone that has interesting perspectives.
Yep.
If you're artists, scientists, anybody that has a message that they want to get out there, we would love to have them on the podcast. And we're really looking forward to it. So please just hit us up.
Oh, I forgot to do something at the beginning I was supposed to do. So for those watching on YouTube, by the way, find us on YouTube.
Ooh.
I put timestamps in the description of every episode. So if you tune in and you're like, man, I hate when these guys talk about movies. They're idiots about movies.
Or you don't know jack shit about NBA.
Yeah,
you don't really
and you want to skip the NBA? There's timestamps for every subject that we talk about on the bottom of the videos.
Scroll down into the description and then literally just click and it goes right to it.
Yep. Right to the spot about the subject. So if you want to skip around, you can do that. I think that's everything.
I think that's it, dog.
I think that... We good? She good?
Is she all right?
All right, we're good. We out.
Stay weird.